Chapter 238. The two children from before carried the dragon and phoenix candles and led the way. Li Hongyuan used the red silk ribbon to lead Jingwan to the bridal chamber. The wedding hall was in the main hall of the front courtyard, and the bridal chamber was in the main rear courtyard. In such a big wangfu, the distance was not short, especially when Jingwan had to step on the rice bags as she walked. There were 5 rice bags laid out in succession. Every time she walked past one, a maidservant would pass it to the front and lay it on the red carpet, carrying on the family line, 5 generations living under the same roof. The rice bags were laid out flat. Except for her line of sight being obstructed, Jingwan walked steadily step by step. Walking to the bridal chamber door, Jingwan stepped over the brazier at the door. Under the guidance of the matron of honor, Jingwan and Li Hongyuan walked to the bedside. However, they first went up a step past the door, and then walked 2 more steps before reaching the edge of the bed. Very good, from now on they would start to walk on the bed. The man was on the left, and the woman was on the right. Originally, Li Hongyuan should have pressed his right lapel against Jingwan's left lapel, but he seemed to have forgotten the rules. The 2 people's clothes were just next to each other, without any gap or overlap. The first time he might have forgotten, but what about the second or third time? Entering the door, he didn't hide his shame. He didn't kneel first when bowing to the heaven and earth. He didn't press down on the bride's head when sitting in the tent. The intention of holding the wife high was obvious. Then why did Jin Qinwang do this? But at this time, there probably wouldn't be anyone stupid enough to remind him. Next, it was time to spread the tent. The house was full of womenfolk, Sun Yijia and the others who came to send off Jingwen, and the noble ladies of the imperial family. No matter what their thoughts were, the house was full. At this time, everyone worked together, laughing as they continuously scattered red dates, peanuts, longans, lotus seeds and other things. As they scattered, they also said auspicious words. Everywhere in the house, on the bed, and naturally on Jingwan's body. It must be said that these things, if they used a bit of strength, it would be quite painful when they hit the body. However, with the living king of hell watching from the side, even if his expression was calm, he was completely a quiet and beautiful man. But every time someone threw something at Jingwan, his line of sight would always look at the person who did it. They always felt that with that one glance, his eyes would become deep and serene, as if he wanted to remember you, and then, so, they would always stiffen and subconsciously reduce their strength, or simply turn around and scatter it to other places. In the end, in Jingwan's arms, there were only a few things, which made some people couldn't help but think of the time when they got married. They almost buried themselves. Not only that, it was also unbearably painful. After all, there were some people who maliciously wanted to tease others. This was the difference, Or they could use, the bride didn't receive as many blessings as they did, to balance their minds. As for their real thoughts, probably only they themselves knew. After setting up the curtain, the matron of honor brought the wedding scale. Li Hongyuan stood up, took the scale, and gently lifted the veil on Jingwan's head. Jingwan slightly raised her head, and Li Hongyuan's eyes became extraordinarily gentle and affectionate. It was obviously not the first time that she had seen his eyes like this, and compared with the other newlyweds, they could not be more familiar with each other. But inexplicably, she had the illusion that it had been 10,000 years. Then Jingwan inexplicably blushed and quickly lowered her head. Li Hongyuan gently raised the corners of his mouth. Today Wan was extraordinarily beautiful. She rarely wore red, but she did not know that when she wore it, she was so delicate and beautiful, which made his heart itch. He even wanted to directly drive everyone out and bring forward their wedding night. Perhaps in the future, he could buy more red clothes for her. The groom is dumbfounded by the bride, right? But the bride is really beautiful. Someone teased, and the others echoed and laughed. Jingwan now only needed to bow her head and pretend to be shy and not speak. Li Hongyuan put down the wedding scale and sat back. At this time, the servant brought the dumplings. The matron of honor took it to Jingwan, picked it up and fed it to Jingwan. The dumplings were very small and could be eaten in one bite. When Jingwan chewed subconsciously, She remembered that this thing seemed to be half-cooked and should be swallowed directly. But after chewing, Jingwon found that it was fully cooked. She glanced at Lee Hongyuan from the corner of her eyes. He was also looking at Jingwon quietly. "Do you want to give birth?" the matron of honor asked with a smile. "Yes," Jingwon said against her will. The matron of honor fed her 2 more before she gave up. The maidservant brought 2 more glasses of wine. In fact, rich people basically no longer used gourds to drink the nuptial wine. According to the different social classes and the different degrees of wealth, the cups used were naturally different. The quilt was connected with a red rope. Jingwon and Lee Hongyun each took a cup, faced each other sideways, slightly raised the cup, drank half of the cup, and then exchanged the wine cups and drank up the wine in the cup. The matron of honor's auspicious words came out freely, and the others also laughed, but it had no effect on the 2 newlyweds. Jingwon was really calm. As for Lee Hongyuan, when he wanted to pretend, no one could see his true thoughts. After drinking the nuptial wine, it was time to tie the hair. The matron of honor cut a strand of Lee Hongyuan's hair with scissors and then cut it for Jingwon. Don't think that the bride's hair couldn't be cut because her hair was tied up tightly and the phoenix coronet couldn't be removed. In fact, when the bride combed her hair, she had already reserved a small tuft. This small tuft could be easily removed, and it wouldn't affect her hair at all. The maidservant took the hair of the 2 people, mixed it with a red silk thread, neatly woven it into a concentric knot, and hung it on the bed. From now on, their bodies and souls would be combined together forever, never to be separated. The people in the room wanted to continue to make trouble for the bride, but the groom sat there and didn't leave. He just looked at them quietly. The meaning of driving them away was obvious. Want to torture his wife. Haha, not to mention the door, there was no crack in the door. In this way, these people went out obediently without the help of the bride's family. Therefore, the reputation of the living king of hell was very useful in many cases. If it wasn't for him, in the face of these imperial ladies, the bride's family really couldn't drive them away. If they encountered some excessive ones, the bride may be wronged. Without comparison, it was difficult to distinguish good from bad. Jingwon's sisters-in-law, which one of them hadn't been disturbed? Although it wasn't excessive, none of them were protected by their new husbands. In their view, this was a very normal thing. But now they inexplicably felt very wronged. However, when they saw the 4 maidservants, their hearts were balanced. The people who didn't want to work had all left. Lee Hongyuan reached out to hold Jingwon and kissed her. Jingwon hurriedly reached out to stop him, but how could she stop him? Lee Hongyuan kissed her fiercely for a while before letting go. Jingwon's lips were basically eaten up by him, but he still licked his lips and stared at Jingwon. His eyes really wanted to swallow her alive. Jingwon swallowed her saliva and moved back. Speaking of which, this man was also very charming. He actually used the beauty trap on her. It was too unkind. Now that they were officially husband and wife, being teased like this, Jingwon was afraid that she couldn't control herself and directly pounced on him. "Your Highness should go out." "Ha!" Lee Hongyuan chuckled. "Won, don't worry. I've waited for so long. It's not like I can't wait until nighttime." According to his own nature, he would directly go to the bridal chamber now. He was too lazy to care about the people outside. But in this way, his little sweetheart would be gossiped about again. 99 steps had been taken, so this last step didn't make a difference. Jingwon's face was paralyzed. Lee Hongyuan knew that she wasn't angry, but had nothing to say. He was even more amused. He reached out to touch the tip of her nose. "I'll go out first. You don't need to be restrained in the room. I'll have the servants prepare a table of noodles for you. Don't starve yourself. If you don't like to eat or if there's anything you want to eat, just tell them." Jingwon nodded. He was really becoming more and more long-winded. This wasn't the right style, okay? Speaking of which, this should be a completely unfamiliar place. But the fact was, the furnishings here were quite similar to her boudoir in the Luo family. It was just that the place was much bigger. In addition, the servants who were supposed to serve her were all here, so she really didn't feel restrained. Li Hongyuan leaned over and kissed her again before preparing to leave. Nurse Gong very calmly handed him a handkerchief to let him wipe the remaining lipstick on his lips. The banquet was a flowing banquet that would last from now until the evening. Speaking of which, whether it was the Minister of Personnel Affairs Fu or Jin Qin Wang Fu, they couldn't be ignored. Thus, many people hung gifts from both sides today. If they were from the same family, they had to carefully weigh which house they wanted to visit. This was a burden, but also an honor. After all, to be able to visit both sides at the same time, they also needed to have status. The banquet for the bridal chamber was quickly sent over. Slowly, the table was filled, but the portion of each dish was very small. Most of them were Jingwan's favorite dishes, and the rest. There are chefs from all over the world in the Wang Fu. Wang Ye's intention is to let Wang Fei have a taste first and see what you like to eat. When the chefs know that Wang Fei has married into the family, they're rubbing their hands and preparing to show off their skills. A servant girl beside Li Hongyuan laughed softly. Jingwan naturally knew this servant girl. Although she hadn't seen her many times, the four of them were dressed as young ladies. I haven't been conferred the title yet, just call me Furen now. Wang Fei doesn't need to worry too much. These words won't spread out. Newbie knows the severity of the matter. However, it should be around the same time. They had been warned earlier. Jingwan also didn't haggle over this issue. What are you called? Replying to Wang Fei, Newbie Qing Shi. Newbie and the four of us have poems and songs. Qing comes from the green mountains and clear waters. Qing, was it a coincidence? It should be a coincidence, BA. After all, the several head servant girls by her side were given names a few years ago. At that time they had nothing to do with a certain person. Qing Shi served Jingwan. Her dowry servant girls didn't have any intention to step forward and interfere. Instead, it was Jingwan's wet nurse. Qing Shi's eyes swept over them thoroughly from head to toe. In her eyes, these were bewitching foxes that would destroy the relationship between a young lady and her son-in-law. Her gaze wasn't hidden at all. This kind of thing couldn't be more normal. Qing Shi didn't even frown. She only thought that after a period of time, when the matters in her hands were handed over to Wang Fei's dowry servant girls, she would probably be able to ask Wang Fei to appoint a marriage. Speaking of which, when they were in the summer palace, Jingwan discovered that Qing Shi was very good at serving her. Qing Shi knew her little habits. Whatever she wanted to eat, Qing Shi didn't need to say much and would be able to prepare it. As for Jingwan, who was focused on eating, only after eating did she realize that the one serving her wasn't her own servant girl. Unexpectedly, she didn't feel the slightest bit out of place. This was interesting. Perhaps the other three servants were similar. Jingwan naturally couldn't eat for as long as she did outside. After eating, she withdrew. Afterwards, Qing Xi and Qing Gu came in with water to wash her face and hands. Qing Zhu helped her put on makeup again. Today's matter wasn't over yet, so the makeup couldn't be removed. Does Wang Fei want to read a book? Qing Shi suggested. Just sitting there would definitely be boring. Jingwan nodded. Qing Shi brought out a small snail book, miscellaneous notes, travel notes, and picture books. They were all good things to pass the time. The preparation was complete. Jingwan temporarily took off the wedding dress outside. Leaning on the couch, she seriously flipped through the books. Occasionally, she would be fed a piece of cut fruit. To be honest, it wasn't any different from before she got married. It was really very comfortable. And Qing Zhu and the others were directly pulled out by several other people enthusiastically. They didn't need to ask anything and just told them about the situation of Jin Qin Wang Fu like pouring beans. They even divided the work and worked together. Each person worked together and didn't repeat the same thing. It was a very thin book. Jingwan read half of it. Mu Gonggong came in a hurry, but he didn't come in at this time. Qing Xi lifted the curtain and came in. Wang Fei, the imperial edict for conferring titles has arrived. Wang Yi asked you to go to the front courtyard to receive the edict. Jingwan was slightly startled. The imperial edict for conferring titles came down so quickly. Wasn't it supposed to wait until after she returned home? But thinking about a certain person's style, she more or less understood what was going on. He really knew how to draw hatred to her. But she couldn't deny that she was happy because she was cared about and valued. That bit of hatred and whatnot didn't matter. The red wedding dress was put on again. Going to the front courtyard, Li Hongyuan reached out and pulled her to his side. His movements were natural and intimate. With the veil lifted, Jingwan's appearance was completely revealed. Standing next to Jin Wangfu, it was an unspeakable match, just like a jade couple. This woman who was about to become Jin Wangfu's consort was really outstanding. With Li Hongyuan and Jingwan taking the lead, everyone knelt down in succession. Although there was no conferring ceremony, the treasured book, imperial seal, and Qin Wang Fei attire were all present. Not only that, Jingwan was also given a considerable reward. Therefore now only Jingwan was the main character. Including Li Hongyuan, everyone was reduced to supporting roles. Naturally, some people were happy, some people. Jingwan's sisters-in-law before Jingwan, even if there was a gap, it wasn't very big. Whether it was superiority or dissatisfaction, it wasn't very strong. But now that Jingwan took the lead in everything and surpassed them by too much, their hearts naturally. However, Jin Wangfu is the leader among the princes. His Wang Fei is the first among the prince's consorts. What's so strange about that? Thus, after being pricked by a needle, her entire person was crying. It was her man who didn't put in the effort. This was a happy event on top of a happy event. When the guests poured wine for Li Hongyuan, they became more and more impolite. Especially those brothers of his, they were even more vile, wishing that they could make him crawl down and not enter the bridal chamber. However, Li Hongyuan had perfectly demonstrated to them what it meant to drink like a drunken stupor. He had directly used his actions to tell them, bring it on. Not to mention his group of brothers, even the courtiers. He didn't refuse anyone. The final result was that Li Hongyuan overturned a group of people by himself. Those who wanted to get him drunk, the ones lying down were definitely themselves. Only those who gave him a toast were still standing. Not to mention that all the guests were shocked by his volume. Even Jingwan almost jumped up after hearing it. But she was the one who did it. Alcohol poisoning, that wasn't a joke. If it wasn't done well, it could cause someone to die. The wine he used for his wedding would definitely be the best wine. Jingwan hurriedly asked someone to prepare a hangover soup for him. Thinking about it, it still wasn't possible. She reckoned that she had to directly find a doctor. Not long after Jingwan gave the order, Li Hongyuan had already returned. Jingwan wanted to directly go out, but there were other people who came in with her. Li Hongyuan came in alone. He didn't walk out of a snake-like path, but his feet were obviously a little wobbly and his eyes weren't focused. He stood for a while and then walked towards the bed. When he lifted his foot, he didn't stabilize his body and directly threw himself towards Jingwan. Jingwan hurriedly supported him. Wangye, quickly bring the hangover soup and the fu doctor. Wan, I'm fine. Li Hongyuan hugged Jingwan and rubbed against her. The fu doctor didn't come, but he brought in a hangover medicine. Li Hongyuan acted shamelessly and refused to take it. Then he hugged Jingwan and didn't let go. Jingwan could only patiently coax him and let him take the medicine. The two women who came in with good fortune and virtue were endlessly embarrassed. However, when this person was drunk, he was really different from normal. As the saying goes, one speaks the truth after drinking. Some behavior after drinking should be a good reflection of a person's heart. Jin Qinwang should really like his Wang Fei. Along the way, he didn't want others to get close to him. He hugged his Wang Fei but didn't let go. Jingwan also looked at the two people and was somewhat embarrassed. She helped him to sit properly and kindly let him complete the last ceremony, the 3 drinks and drinks ceremony. Li Hongyuan seemed to be unable to sit still. He leaned on Jingwan and half closed his eyes, looking at the irrelevant people. The two women's scalps tingled from being stared at and quickly called for people to bring wine. The first cup of wine to congratulate the groom. If there's any gossip to talk about, I'm afraid the other people will want to listen in. The second cup of wine to congratulate the groom. The matters in the room should be discussed secretly, in case other people want to talk. The third cup of wine to congratulate the groom. I wish the husband and wife to grow old together and give birth to a son as soon as possible. Every time, Jingwan and Li Hongyuan only needed to take a sip and exchange wine cups. After that, the two women hurriedly left. Even if they were elders, they also didn't want to face this living king of hell. Wan, the people who are in the way have finally left. Li Hongyuan pushed Jingwan down. He could officially enjoy the delicious meal. Jingwan was also helpless. She pushed Li Hongyuan, who was nibbling on her body. Wangye, let's take a bath first, okay? And this bed also needs to be tidied up. There are so many things, if you don't get down you'll feel uncomfortable. Li Hongyuan paused and got up. He picked up Jingwan and walked towards the clean room. This time, the serving maidservants were all dumbfounded. Wang Ye and Wang Fei went in together. How could they serve them? The headquarters could send Wang Ye's personal maidservants to serve them. But they found that none of the four people, Ci, Gu and Fu, had come in. Wang Ye's servant girls were indeed a bit strange. Not only did they tell them everything, but when Wang Yi returned, they hid far away. Was this to prevent them from finding out the real secret of the Wang Fu, and trying to cover it up would only make it more conspicuous? Or was it to numb them and then plan a big conspiracy? Alright, what are you waiting for? Hurry and clean up the bed. Mama Gong took out the clothes the two needed to wear from the cabinet and walked into the clean room. She wasn't surprised to see the two people who were already in the heat of the moment. Jingwan's red wedding dress was half taken off and hung on her arm. Her white undergarments were also pulled open, revealing the red bodice inside. The golden phoenix belt had been mercilessly thrown to the ground. Mama Gong calmly picked it up. Wang Ye, the aunties from the palace have already brought the silk cloth. Tomorrow, she will bring it back to the palace. Being interrupted in the heat of the moment was definitely not something to be happy about. Li Hongyuan looked darkly at Mama Gong. Jingwan was also embarrassed and quickly retreated. Wan, wash. I'll change to another place to wash. At this time it was really easy to get angry. He had endured it for so long. If he had to fake the silk cloth on the wedding night, it really would be a big loss. Li Hongyuan left. Mama Gong helped Jingwan bathe. She also calmly gave Jingwan a massage to loosen her muscles. When Jingwan came out, there was only a certain someone in the room who was absent-mindedly reading a book. She was wearing underwear with a loose robe draped over her shoulders. She was a beauty under the light. The more one looked at her, the more attractive she was. Li Hongyuan threw the book in his hand, picked up Jingwan and walked to the wedding bed. He put Jingwan on the bed and pulled down the bed curtain. Jingwan cried out in surprise, followed by muffled sounds. Wang Ye, you're not drunk. Little. I'm awake now. If I knew they would force me to drink, I would have taken the hangover medicine in advance. Do they think they can stop this prince from entering the nuptial chamber? I've waited for this night for so long. How can I miss it? Nanny Gong opened the side door of the cleansing room and ordered people to carry the water out. She cleaned up the cleansing room and locked the side door tightly. She went into the bridal chamber and heard the sounds of moaning and gasping. She went to put down the curtain outside the step bed and then went to the outer room. It wasn't just the dragon and phoenix candles beside the bed. All the other candles in the room were lit. Li Hongyuan's body was drenched in sweat, but he was extremely gentle. Wan, my good darling, bear with it. Jingwan lay on her back with her head tilted back. Her neck was stretched to its limit. She had to pass this hurdle. She had to suffer. But when it really happened, Jingwan still screamed. Li Hongyuan didn't dare to continue. He kept comforting her, but he endured it with great difficulty. Big beads of sweat rolled down Jingwan's body one after another. Jingwan's nails left scratches on his back. Jingwan tried hard to relax her body. Yuan, it's enough. In fact, her body was sending out signals that it wasn't enough. But it was uncomfortable to be in such a state. Li Hongyuan hardened his heart. With so much noise in the room, it was impossible for the people outside not to hear. Especially Mama Gong, who heard everything clearly. She frowned slightly. She didn't know how much Princess Consort was going to suffer tonight. On the other hand, the aunt next to her didn't hear clearly, but she knew that it was getting better. She laughed happily. Now, the imperial consort can finally rest assured. All these years, she has been looking forward to having someone close to her to take care of His Highness. As for the Luo family's third young miss, I should call her Princess Consort now. She was conferred the title of Princess Consort on the day of her marriage. Even in the history of Qi Yuan, it's the first time a Princess Consort was conferred the title of Princess Consort. Mama Gong nodded indifferently and didn't say anything. The wet nurse, on the other hand, felt that it wasn't good to be left out. That was the maid of the young lady's mother-in-law. She didn't want to make things difficult for the young lady. Thinking of this, she cheered up and chatted with the maid warmly. After half an hour, Li Hongyuan asked for water for the first time. Li Hongyuan sat in the bathtub with Jingwan in his arms. She didn't know when a jade bottle appeared in his hand. He poured out a pill and dissolved it in the water. Wan, this is a contraceptive. I've asked many people to try it. It won't harm the body. You're still young and your bones haven't grown. We'll have a child in 2 years. Besides, I can't and I don't want to have a child now. I won't tolerate it if your brother and sister-in-law were to have a child after marriage. You can only be mine. No one can distract you. Don't blame me. Jingwan looked at him with sparkling eyes. Suddenly, she reached out and hooked his neck. She leaned forward and kissed him. Oh my, this man was so cute at this moment. Moreover, he was jealous of a little child who was nowhere to be found. Seemed a little cute. This hungry wolf who took the initiative to come to him was far from satisfied. Of course he wouldn't be polite. Moreover, he didn't care about anything else. He directly messed around in the bathtub and changed the water before coming out. The bed had been cleaned. Nurse Gong put away the handkerchief and put it away. It had been more than an hour since they started. It was probably time to rest when they returned to the bed. However, it didn't take long for the aunt who came out from the palace to realize her naivety. She laughed dryly. Your Highness's stamina is really good. Asking for water for the third time was a must. Finally it stopped. Jingwan was really too tired. When Li Hongyuan carried her back to the bed, she had already fallen asleep. With Jingwan in his arms, Li Hongyuan could always fall asleep very quickly. However, this time it wasn't as peaceful as before. He dreamed. He dreamed of one of the deepest memories of his previous life. He had already recovered from his injuries. He hid his only gentleness in the deepest part of his heart. He abandoned all his kindness and even his humanity. He swore to snatch the position that he had never thought of before. In order to achieve his goal, he would do anything. His hands were stained with blood. His heart, liver, and lungs were stained black. He planned step by step and then returned to the capital. He was no longer the Li Hongyuan who could be easily schemed against. Even if he faced not only the suppression of his brothers, but also his father who wanted to kill him directly. Even if he was surrounded by danger, besieged on all sides and suffered heavy losses, he still stubbornly endured. Fu Yunting fought hard at the border for more than a year. In the end, he couldn't hold on any longer. In front of him was a fierce army. Beside him were the old and the weak. He had no provisions to support him. After a great defeat, he was accused of treason and was escorted back to the capital. He was thrown into prison. At this time, the former third daughter of the Luo family, who was now Fu Yunting's wife of Wu Wanho, completely changed him. The woman who moved his heart came to him and asked him to save Wu Wanho's nephews and nieces. He knew that she was at the end of her rope. In the entire Wu Anho, she was the only one who hadn't been imprisoned. She didn't have to come back. If she wanted, she could have concealed her identity and waited for him to ascend the throne. But she still came back. She knew that once she was discovered, she would immediately be detained. She knew that it was impossible to save Fu Yunting. She didn't even mention it. She only wanted to protect the bloodline of the Fu family. Li Hongyuan was furious. He was angry that she gave up everything for that man. Now she was even willing to give up her life. He was even more jealous that Fu Yunting was able to obtain such a woman. He even wanted to rush into the prison and chop him up. Do you think that by saving this prince once, you can exchange 2 lives for it? Fu Yunting originally had 2 nephews and 1 niece. When he was detained, one of them fell ill. Because he didn't receive any treatment, he died in the prison within 2 days. Jingwan didn't resent him. This guilty woman has nothing now. What will it take for your highness to be willing to save people? As long as this guilty woman can do it, I'll do it even if it's a mountain of swords or a sea of flames. Li Hongyuan sneered. That's not necessary. You can exchange yourself for it. He saw that her weather-beaten eyes had become unusually firm. Her eyes, which didn't easily reveal any emotions, revealed shock and disbelief. Then they gradually calmed down. Okay. She didn't hesitate at all. She didn't ask him why. It was this kind of her that made him even angrier. But he couldn't push her away. At night, she took a bath and changed her clothes. Then she lay on his bed. His heart was filled with pain and hatred. Every time he wanted to tear her apart, he couldn't help but use less strength. However, his eyes suddenly widened. You've been married for almost 2 years. You still haven't consummated your marriage. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653348. HTML. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After making a report, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com. Chapter 239. Jingwan's face was flushed, and her eyes were closed. Hearing this, her eyelashes trembled slightly, and her eyes were blurred. Thinking about it, she was not a blockhead. No matter what she thought in her heart, it was normal for her body to have a reaction. Since she had already agreed, she naturally wouldn't be reluctant to do it. Who was she being pretentious for? Isn't this better for a man? Jingwan panted slightly. When she said this, she didn't have any other emotions, just stating a fact. This sentence inexplicably angered Li Hongyuan. He pinched Jingwan's chin. He really minded, but what he really minded was her relationship with Fu Yunting, not whether Jingwan was a virgin or not. He didn't deny that he was happy in his heart. This meant that she would completely belong to him, but he was even angrier and more distressed. As a legitimate husband and wife, they had been together for a long time. To a woman, being a virgin was not something to be happy about, but a great shame. Moreover, he didn't think that the problem was Jingwan. He knew Jingwan's character. She would never be fickle. She would never marry someone and not let her husband touch her. Moreover, if she really didn't want to, why would she give up everything for Fu Yunting and Wu Anho? Did it mean that she loved that man so much that even if they weren't husband and wife, she was still willing? Li Hongyuan's eyes were red with jealousy, and he didn't care about anything else. It was Jingwan's first pleasure. Naturally, she couldn't stand his torment. Fortunately, he recovered some of his reason. Seeing her so miserable, he was distressed. He hurriedly took her to bathe and applied medicine for her. Even if his body and mind were not completely relieved, he didn't dare to do it a second time. Li Hongyuan held Jingwan and wanted to rub her into his bones and blood. He treated you like that, but you still stubbornly love him and don't abandon him. What should I say about you? He felt pity for her and expected better from her. Jingwan was uncomfortable, but it was futile to struggle now, so she quietly let him hold her. Her thoughts were scattered and her reaction was slow. After a moment, she reacted to what Jin Qinwang was referring to. She didn't notice because of his black as ink face. It's not what Wang Ye thinks. Then what is it? What reason does a man have to not touch his wife? If it's not that his heart is completely filled with another woman, then he can't do it. No matter what, it is unforgivable. Whether he could do it or not, Jingwan really didn't know. However, it was true that he didn't have another woman. Jingwan also wouldn't maliciously speculate. I entered the door during his mourning period. It hadn't even been a month when his love was stolen and he led the army to battle. Jingwan said without any ripples. Ben Wang knows that the one who died was his uncle, not his father. Mourning for a year is the limit. You went all out to ask for provisions from the court and personally escorted the provisions to the border. Do you think that Ben Wang doesn't know how much respect the soldiers at the border have for you? You have a residence in the border city. You can enter and leave his main tent freely. No matter how busy he is with the war, he can't even spare a night. He wanted me to leave Wu Anho Fu, wanted me to leave him. In a man's eyes, as long as there's no physical involvement, there won't be such a deep bond for a woman. You make it sound better than singing, but you're just a hypocrite. If he really cared about you, why didn't he just write a letter of divorce? Even if you've already been expelled from the Luo family, that's because you don't want to implicate the Luo family and sully your own reputation. If you leave Wu Anho Fu, will the Luo family accept you back? In the end, he's still selfish and wants to tie you down. Without you, would he be able to last until now? Without you, the others in Wu Anho Fu wouldn't even need to go to prison. They would all be dead. It's not like that. Jingwan raised her head and calmly refuted. Then what is it? Li Hongyuan looked at her, silently asking what was it like. Tell him, he wanted to know. Jingwan lowered her head. Obviously, she didn't want to be entangled in this issue. Li Hongyuan's heart was irritable, but in reality, he was in no position to question Jingwan. Moreover, after spending some time with her, he understood her personality. Once she decided on something, she would not change her mind easily. After a while, Jingwan's voice sounded again. The Fu family has been loyal to the Li royal family since the first Duke of Wu-en. The Li royal family wanted to completely exterminate the Fu family's bloodline. As for the other dukes and marquises, they just let them fall. The Fu family has been guarding the Qi Yuan for generations. Many of the Fu family's men have died on the battlefield. They can't even give up their military power because without power, the family will be exterminated even faster. This time, the emperor was willing to sacrifice 300,000 soldiers in the northwest in order to eliminate the Fu family. Why? Don't tell me that it's because the Fu family is superior to the emperor. That's ridiculous. Why? Li Hongyuan was also puzzled by this question. After that, he secretly detained her in the Wang mansion. Jingwan did not cause any trouble for him. Instead, she gave him many suggestions, and they were all very useful. She just refused to let him get close to her. However, the situation was too chaotic after all, and he did not have enough power. Jingwan's existence was known by others. Although no one knew his identity yet, some people felt that they had caught on to his weakness and deliberately used it to make up stories. When his father was fighting for the throne, he wanted nothing more than to get rid of him as soon as possible. He told him clearly that he would not give the throne to anyone but him. It was impossible for others to break into the Wang mansion, but it was different for the imperial guards who had the imperial edict. However, they didn't find anything. Jingwan was quick-witted and had already left. Li Hongyuan was too closely watched by all parties. There was no way he could find Jingwan. When he found out that Fu Yunting had left behind the last elite soldiers to protect her, he could only suppress his desire. But he became more and more ruthless. He only hoped that he could get power soon, and then, when they met again, it would be farewell. Li Hongyuan suddenly woke up. Under the candlelight, his eyes were as dark as ink. The situation in the dream was so clear. It didn't seem like a few decades had passed, but more like it was yesterday. Li Hongyuan was not sure if it was because he had completely united with Wan Wan that it triggered such a clear memory. Because he was hugging Jingwan to sleep, this movement naturally affected Jingwan. However, probably because she was too tired, she did not wake up. She moved a little and leaned into Li Hongyuan's arms. She murmured as if she was in a dream. And Li Hongyuan's expression softened. He hugged Jingwan tightly in his arms. She was still in his arms. They were already husband and wife in name. He would not make the same mistake again. In this life, regardless of life or death, he would always tie Wan Wan to his side. Jingwan was not wrapped around by him like a python. As the saying goes, the first time is unfamiliar, the second time is familiar. At this time, she unconsciously patted Li Hongyuan's hand to let him relax a little. Then she fell into a deep sleep again. Li Hongyuan stroked Jingwan's hair. Although Jingwan's original fate had changed, her death in the previous life could not let him go. He could not live through the days of her death. If he did not completely settle down, his heart would never be completely at peace. This had nothing to do with whether or not he had the confidence to protect her. However, now that he thought about it, in the previous life, Wan Wan had never left Wu Anho's residence. There must be other secrets. In the previous life he did not know, but in this life he was very clear. According to Wan Wan's deep relationship with Madame Luo, Wan Wan's matter would definitely bring her a great blow. She was not careless, she could die. If it was not because she had no choice, why would Jingwan ignore her grandmother who had raised her for more than 10 years for Wu Anho's residence? There was also the marriage between Jingwan and Fu Yunting. Even if Jingwan was schemed against, it was not impossible to ruin it. After all, it was not an arranged marriage. It was not easy for Jingwan to marry in the capital. At most, she would be sent back to Chen Manor. However, not only did she marry during Fu Yunting's mourning period, but she also fell head first into it without any hesitation. Wan Wan had always been a rational person. She and Fu Yunting were not husband and wife, and the time they spent together was also very short. He did not believe that it was because of love. The more he thought about it, the more suspicious he felt. As for the former, even if Li Hongyuan became the emperor in the previous life, it was probably because of the destruction of the Fu family. In reality, there were still 2 children living in secret. There were no clues. In this life, he was bound to find out the reason. However, he was not in a hurry now. Wu Anho's residence was under his protection. It would not be easy to destroy it. Therefore, even if there were some things that only the emperor could know, he would find out sooner or later. The latter might be related to the former, or it might not be. If it was related, he would naturally know the answer. If it was not, then this matter would forever remain a mystery. It was not without reason that Li Hongyuan kept Fu Yunting alive. After all, Wan Wan also wanted to know the reason. Of the 300,000 soldiers, more than 200,000 had died in the hands of the enemy. The remaining soldiers were killed under the orders of some people in order to cover up their crimes. Wan Wan did not say anything, but she was very angry and also very distressed. Fu Yunting was born into a family of generals, and he was indeed worthy of his birth. He was an outstanding general. As such, if Li Hongyuan did not ruthlessly exploit him, he would feel that he was letting himself down. Li Hongyuan was so shameless. In the previous life, he slept with Fu Yunting's wife. In this life, to a certain extent, he stole Fu Yunting's wife. Not only that, he also treated Fu Yunting as a thorn in his side. To be honest, Fu Yunting did not do anything wrong to Li Hongyuan. He was punished for no reason. In the end, he was deeply grateful to Li Hongyuan because Li Hongyuan protected Wu Anho's residence, found him a wife, and secretly gave him a lot of money. No matter how he was treated, he did not resent Li Hongyuan. Therefore, Fu Yunting was really suffering. Listening to Jingwan's gentle breathing, His heart gradually calmed down. He hugged her soft body and fell asleep again. This time he did not have any dreams. The next morning, Jingwan did not wake up on time for morning exercise. She did not even move at all. It was obvious that she was exhausted last night. Since she did not have time for morning exercise, she naturally let him sleep a little longer. However, this sleep was not as simple as just a little longer. Seeing that it was almost time, they still had to enter the palace today. As the bride, Jingwan had to kowtow to His Majesty and the concubines. After that, she had to meet the relatives of the imperial family. Of course, it was only limited to those who had to kowtow to her. Mama Gong knocked on the door outside, but there was no response. Noble consort Su's people were still waiting for her to return to the palace with the silk handkerchief. Mama Gong hesitated for a moment, then quietly went in. Her aunt also followed her in. She approached the bed and said, Your Highness, it's time to get up. Noisy. Li Hongyuan's cold voice sounded. Mama Gong wanted to say something else, but her aunt hurriedly pulled her aside and said, It's okay. You can enter the palace later. They knew Li Hongyuan's temper very well. It was just that they could not enter the palace earlier to pay their respects. As long as this living ancestor was in a good mood, it would not be a problem to enter the palace later, let alone later. Mama Gong hesitated. As the bride, Your Highness. When a woman gets married, she naturally regards her husband as her god. Sister, do you know where Your Highness's silk handkerchief is? Mama Gong nodded. I'll go get it for you now. Course, that's great. I'll return to the palace to report to noble consort first. When Your Highness and Your Highness get up, you can tidy up and enter the palace. Mama Gong sent her off and turned around. She had no intention of disturbing the two people on the bed. She was just putting on an act just now. She had to remove the princess from the picture as soon as possible. No matter what the reason was, she could not let others find fault with the princess. What she wanted was to regard her husband as her god. In the future, she could directly push all the blame to the prince. If she pushed the blame to others, she would be the scapegoat. If she pushed the blame to him, it would be like a feather brushing past, leaving no trace. Although Jingwan did not wake up on time because she was overworked last night, she only slept for an extra hour. When she woke up, Li Hongyuan was already awake. He was lying on his side with his head propped up. The bright red brocade quilt embroidered with 100 flowers slid down to his waist. The beautiful muscles on his body were perfectly displayed, full of strength and beauty. He quietly looked at her, his hand twirling her hair. Jingwan woke up to this seductive scene. In addition, his gaze was so gentle that it could make people drown. Jingwan directly reached out to hook his neck and raised her head to kiss him. Li Hongyuan's eyes darkened. His wife took the initiative to deliver herself to him. How could he not eat her? Jingwan had originally been lustful, and only wanted to have a morning kiss. She didn't want to be a sheep in the wolf's mouth. The two were not wearing clothes. Seeing a certain person's body become more and more excited, Jingwan quickly showed weakness. Ah Yuan, it still hurts. Li Hongyuan gave a low laugh. Don't worry. Just do what you did before. Jingwan had a sad face, but this wolf was trembling too much. He was not satisfied and was prepared to grind with her on the bed. Afterwards, Jingwan had no choice but to serve him patiently. In the end, she ended up being served as well. This was good. Even if there was no morning exercise, she still had to take a bath. After getting out of the bath, Li Hongyuan did not let anyone serve him. He nimbly put on his clothes and then slowly helped Jingwan put on her clothes. Because he was very slow, he completely hid the unfamiliarity of wearing clothes for the first time. Instead, it was a kind of mood. Dawdling out, Jingwan's face was still flushed. The servant girls all had their heads down, as if they didn't know what had happened. Your Highness, do you need this concubine to help you change your clothes? Jingwan asked with a bit of teasing. No need to trouble Your Highness. There was nothing wrong with his words, but his eyes were very explicit. Jingwan's skills were far from his. When Qing Shi and Qing Ci heard this, they directly went forward to help Jingwan change her clothes, leaving their master to the side. Jingwan slightly narrowed her eyes, but did not refuse. She opened her arms. Jingwan's servant girls were a bit stunned. They looked at each other in dismay. They couldn't be asked to wait on the prince, right? While they were hesitating, Li Hongyuan took his own clothes and unhurriedly put them on. His movements were not unnatural. When Jingwan saw this for the first time, she was a bit surprised. If she wore her own clothes, she would not be able to do it to this degree. More or less, she would have to ask someone else to tidy her up. Li Hongyuan did not need to do this at all. Jingwan's servant girls let out a sigh of relief. At this time they were not preparing to enter the palace, so they were wearing ordinary clothes. Jingwan's hair was also only combed into a simple bun. When breakfast was served, this time it was Qing Fu. He directly went to Jingwan's side and prepared to serve her breakfast. Li Hongyuan's side did not need to be tangled up. Mu Gonggong was there. In the past, when it was needed, it was Mu Gonggong who entered the room to serve Li Hongyuan. Now it was not possible. Even if he was a castrate, he was still half a man. How could Li Hongyuan endure it? Jingwan waved her hand at Qing Fu. I'll do it myself, no need to serve. Qing Fu retreated, and eunuch Mu also retreated without his master's instructions. This was really too interesting. Everything seemed to follow Jin Qin Wang Fei's lead. It seemed that all the servants were Jingwan's. Only Jin Qin Wang seemed to be the one who married in, and he was still single. Jingwan smiled and picked up the serving chopsticks to serve Li Hongyuan. Don't know what Wangya likes to eat. If there's anything you don't like, please tell Chia directly. Slowly discovering and understanding things bit by bit through future meals was just a way to get a more detailed understanding. As for the things that he really didn't like, he should have said it directly from the beginning to reduce the possibility of estrangement from the beginning. The things that Ben Wang doesn't like, the kitchen doesn't dare to serve. Li Hongyuan was also simple and direct. Jingwan nodded in understanding. It was indeed so. There's only you and me at the table. Wan can directly use her own chopsticks. I don't mind at all. He picked up a small crystal bun to eat and deliberately put it in his mouth. He also picked up one for Jingwan. Serving chopsticks. What was that? Jingwan glanced at him and did not change chopsticks. After eating, they withdrew and sat for a while before preparing to enter the palace. Jingwan felt that it was necessary for her to know more about her husband's relatives. After all, there would be a lot of dealings in the future. Li Hongyuan was simple and crude. Don't worry about them. Do what you should do. Jingwan was speechless. Then what about Gui Fei Nyang? Xia is a very good Mu Fei. Li Hongyuan said with a bit of profound meaning. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653352. HTML chapter error. Click here to report exempt from registration. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com mobile version reading website. Bicken. Chapter 240. She is a very good mother, Li Hongyuan said rather meaningfully. As far as a loving mother is concerned, she is definitely the best among all the concubines, especially when it comes to treating her daughter-in-law. There is probably no mother-in-law better than her. Li Hongming has never had a son. She has always been comforting and persuading third sister-in-law. She has never intended to make Li Hongming a concubine, so as not to put pressure on third sister-in-law. But third sister-in-law felt ashamed and personally found a woman who could give birth to a child for Li Hongming. Jingwan looked at Li Hongyuan, her new husband, who had a faint smile on his face. She rolled her eyes slightly after hearing his words. Then what should I do, Your Highness? What should I do? Isn't there a saying that a white filial piety is better than a white filial piety? My mother is so kind. As her daughter-in-law, you naturally have to comply with everything. You can't disobey her like third sister-in-law. Jingwon understood, but she showed a little hesitation. What if I'm too obedient and make noble consort feel that I'm a piece of dough? Maybe her attitude towards me will be the opposite of her attitude towards third sister-in-law. Compared with Prince Rue, Your Highness is even emptier. Your Highness takes pity on me, but after a long time we will reach that point. The two of them were truly one now. How far they would go in the future would largely depend on her husband's attitude. Jingwon didn't mind opening up some things now, even if there was a gap between them, or even if they started to walk on the path of strangers, she didn't mind. Well, in terms of habits and hobbies, she would rather eliminate the source from the beginning. But when it came to the things she cared about, she mercilessly revealed them. She was indeed a selfish person. Li Hongyuan reached out and pulled Jingwon into his arms. He was a little angry and a little distressed, but her heart couldn't calm down, which only meant that he had done far enough. What happened to taking her husband as her everything? Wan has always been a quick-witted person. Why can't she be more flexible now? When you know that Imperial Mother is being sarcastic as her daughter-in-law, you naturally have the responsibility to maintain her kind image. You have to correct her righteously. Don't be as silly as third sister-in-law. You can't tell whether Imperial Mother is being sarcastic or not. Jingwon looked at Li Hongyuan with an embarrassed expression. Imperial Consort, did you know that your youngest son was so filial? Jingwon could already foresee the scene of noble consort Su fuming with anger. Although she probably wouldn't do it in front of her, wouldn't it be even more sullen? However, she was worried that noble consort Su would secretly want to kill her if she attracted so much hatred. As the sandwich biscuit Jin Qinwang, should he help his old mother or help his wife? Jingwon glanced at a certain person. He was the one who told her to do it. Therefore, even if he wasn't on her side on the surface, he should be helping her in the dark. As for noble consort Su, didn't she say that she was a loving mother and a good mother-in-law? Would she tear up her own beautiful image and be mean to her? Not to mention anything else, the emperor would probably treat her differently. Therefore, her own safety was still assured. Thus, it didn't matter. However, wasn't it said that Jin Qinwang didn't give face to anyone and didn't show any mercy? Was it only noble consort Su who could make him compromise and soften his attitude? Wasn't it said that noble consort Su treated her biological son the same as her adopted son? Sometimes she even slightly favored her adopted son. Wasn't it said that noble consort Su and Jin Qinwang's motherly love and filial piety made the emperor a bit jealous? What kind of place was the imperial palace? How many eyes were watching? Was it true or false? Could deceive one or two people, but could it deceive everyone? Therefore these rumors should be true. Even if it was a disguise, it should be countless times better than Ruan Fengfei's. After all, how could a supermansion like the imperial palace be compared to a small family, like the Ruan family? The fake must be real. Jingwon thought like this and waved away the servants to ask her questions. Li Hongyuan buried his head in her neck and rubbed it. It was a bit ticklish. Jingwon shrunk her neck and pushed him away. Let's talk about serious matters. Or are you saying that you can't tell me? I've already said that there's nothing about me that I can't tell you. It's undeniable that she is indeed very good to me. It's not the so-called making a fake show real, it's really good. I used to think of her as my biological mother for a time. However, even 10 million good can't withstand one or two bad things. When I was 10 years old, she did one thing. When I was 13 years old, she did another thing. Two things were enough to erase everything. Do you know what it was? It was. Li Hongyuan smiled and said a few words as if he didn't care. Jingwon's pupils shrank. You. It seemed to be an understatement, but Jingwon still sensed that he cared. However, after thinking about it, people were not plants and could not be emotionless. No matter how cruel and heartless a person was, there was still a soft spot in their heart. Imagine a mother who had been meticulously caring for her for more than 20 years. No matter how picky you were, no matter how much you looked at her with colored glasses, you couldn't find anything bad about her. In fact, when you found out, there might be a kind of heart-wrenching pain. Li Hongyuan hugged Jingwon. "I'm fine." Jingwon didn't know how to comfort him. However, after so many years, he should have already gotten over it. And she couldn't say that. This living king of hell might have been provoked by imperial consort Su. However, you were able to find out when you were 10 years old. That's amazing. Li Hongyuan couldn't help but laugh. He was actually not amazing at all. After all, in his previous life, he had been tricked and didn't know anything for a long time. In this life, it was only because he had foresight that he could easily avoid it. In fact, when he was 10 years old, he didn't mention it. He just happened to come back at that time. When he was 13 years old, he actually gave her a chance to see if she would restrain herself. Unfortunately, she still did it. Then, he enjoyed her motherly love without any psychological burden and enjoyed the benefits that she brought to him. He also didn't hold back and punished her son. Then he ended her son's bloodline. She found out one day. Li Hongyuan chuckled. He was looking forward to how that good imperial consort mother would break down. After knowing the true relationship between this mother and son, Jingwon felt no pressure in her heart. She even had a faint sense of anticipation. What was there to be angry about? They weren't her own people, nor were they innocent people. Even if it was Jingwon, she didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt. The two changed their clothes. They were dressed in the imperial robes of a prince and the formal attire of a prince consort. They were dressed in the most solemn manner. According to Li Hongyuan, he didn't intend to do this. How shameless were those people to deserve such treatment from him? Moreover, it was still early. Who would be willing to waste time in the palace? Jingwon said jokingly, "I'm going to make a good impression and let them be grateful to me. Because I'm keeping a leash on you, the living king of hell, and there's a tendency for you to become obedient. Then, when I make a mistake, their tolerance will also increase by 3 points." Li Hongyuan rubbed his chin. Wan is right. We should let them know how good you are and praise you to the heavens. Jingwon was speechless. She was really just joking. Did he take it seriously? Would he deliberately do certain things more thoroughly just to cooperate with her, and then drag her to put out the fire at the critical moment? Jingwon would never have thought that she had guessed correctly. And there was a group of people who probably wouldn't have thought that someone would trample them to death for his wife. Digression. I left at the last minute today. That's all. I'll make up for it tomorrow. The time to update was still around 10:30 p.m. If there was no update after 10:40 p.m., it would probably mean that it was too late and didn't catch the last bus for review. When the time comes, you can go and take a look at the comment section above. If there was an update during the day, it would be explained at the end of the chapter. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653355. There is an error in the chapter. Please click here to report it. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com mobile version reading website. Bicken. Chapter 241. The living king of hell had finished his plan. Now, he had to start preparing to raise his wife into a national treasure. The Qin Wang ceremonial procession left Jin Qin Wang Fu. In the past, it was always Li Hongyuan alone, but now there was someone sitting side by side with him. From now on, they would always be together. They would walk through sweet happiness together, and would also walk through difficulties and hardships together. Although his heart still couldn't be completely at ease, Li Hongyuan hugged Jingwon. At least for this moment he was satisfied. After getting off the carriage, Li Hongyuan refused the sedan and just openly pulled Jingwan's hand, heading towards the depths of the palace. Jingwan wanted to pull her hand back several times, but she didn't succeed. "We are newly married. It's natural for us to be intimate," Li Hongyuan righteously said. Jingwan looked at him speechlessly. The intimacy between husband and wife could only be done in private. The common people paid attention to rules and propriety. One must be reserved. Pulling and pulling like this in broad daylight was simply a disgrace to refinement. Well, Jingwan had actually expected this day to come. Being together with this kind of thick-skinned person, the first thing one needed to train was to be thick-skinned. After it was fruitless, Jingwan also let him pull her. If it really turned into pulling and pulling, then it would be shameful. Li Hongyuan didn't seem to be in a hurry at all. His mood was very good as he walked slowly with Jingwan. In any case, according to his intentions, his old man's government affairs hadn't been completely dealt with, so he couldn't be seen at this time. As for noble consort Su, as a loving mother, she should naturally understand her son's joy of finally having a wife and not bicker with him. Therefore, when noble consort Su found out that her son had entered the palace with the newly appointed daughter-in-law, at the beginning, she was still lamenting with the other concubines and another daughter-in-law in her palace. Having a daughter-in-law was different. In the past, when she occasionally went to court, she had never entered the palace so early. Unfortunately, it had already been more than an hour, and there was still no sign of him. Noble consort Su was a little uneasy, and she was a little embarrassed. This was simply a classic example of forgetting one's mother after having a wife. She had always been able to control her son, whom even Luqing Emperor couldn't control. She believed that her position in her son's heart was the most important. However, on the first day her daughter-in-law entered the family, she seemed to have given her a slap. To be honest, noble consort Su was a little angry. Princess Lu lowered her head and drank the tea as if she hadn't noticed anything. Li Hongyuan and Jingwan, who were preparing to go to the Jade Essence Palace, were directly summoned by Luqing Emperor. However, Luqing Emperor's mood was not so good. It was because Li Hongyuan showed a little talent yesterday, which made him vigilant and even felt that he had been cheated. He even had the words written by Li Hongyuan in his hand. It was originally just ordinary handwriting, but now there were too many memorials that had passed through Luqing's hands. Naturally, there were countless good handwriting among them. Even though he had been trained in this aspect for a long time, when he saw Li Hongyuan's handwriting, he couldn't help but praise it, but then his face darkened. For others it might not be a big deal, but in the eyes of a suspicious emperor, it naturally became a conspiracy theory again. After Li Hongyuan and Jingwan knelt down and kowtowed to Luqing Emperor, he didn't call them up as Li Hongyuan usually did. He didn't scold them with anger on the surface. Instead, he looked at them condescendingly. Of course, he mainly focused on Li Hongyuan, secretly evaluating and sizing him up. Li Hongyuan was never a good son who would obediently accept if you didn't speak. He met Luqing Emperor's gaze directly. "Father, if you have something to say, just say it. I brought my wife to serve you tea. If you are unhappy, just say it. It's not an eyesore. It's just that your new daughter-in-law doesn't like you and is always inferior to others. At worst, she will go out less. Now that things have come to this, you embarrass me and your new daughter-in-law. What's going on?" The servants in the study kept quiet out of fear. Jingwan, who lowered her head, looked thoughtful. Speaking of which, in the face of such a son, Luqing Emperor seemed to subconsciously weaken. However, there were still some things that needed to be clarified. "I'm just curious. Sixth brother, your handwriting has improved rapidly recently. I can't even recognize it." Li Hongyuan sneered. "I have nothing to do all day. I just practice a few words. After practicing for more than 10 years, if I haven't made any progress, how stupid can I be? It's just that some people hope that Heir Chan is stupid. Does Father Emperor really think that Heir Chan is stupid? When Heir Chan gets married, the words Li Hongyuan doesn't deserve, are written on each and every one of their faces. Do you really think that Chen doesn't have a temper? Jingwan silently cursed. If you don't have a temper, then it's estimated that everyone in the world would become sheep. However, it should be said that Jin Qinhuang was worthy of being a capable person who could lead Luqing Emperor by the nose. Quietly gaining the upper hand by a show of strength, Luqing Emperor's anger weakened a bit. However, this son of his was so intelligent when he was young. Because he saw through his thoughts, he restrained himself. This son was so well behaved. Even if his temper was a bit big as a prince, how could he not have a temper? This time, it was purely because his son's self-esteem was seriously damaged that he angrily took action. This son was excluded from the position of heir to the throne. In the end, it was his own fault, so he felt even more guilty. My son has been wronged. Li Hongyuan glanced at Luqing Emperor, his eyes full of ridicule and disdain. Chen is not a 3-year-old child. It's just that Chen's wife's tea. Does Fu Huang drink it? Drink, 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 how can I not drink it? Zhan has waited for your wife's tea for many years. I was once worried that I wouldn't be able to drink it. The attendant very perceptively hurriedly prepared the tea in front of Jingwan. Jingwan took the tea and respectfully raised it. Fu Huang, please drink the tea. Good, good, good. It must be said that Luqing Emperor was very satisfied with Jingwan. Of course, he would never think that his son was not worthy of her. In his eyes, the son of his beloved woman, no matter how bad he was, could still be worthy of the best girl in the world. After the attendant presented the tea, he took a sip. Lao Lu's wife Zhen's son will be handed over to you in the future. This evil creature's temper is a bit bad. Please bear with it in the future. Jingwan pursed her lips and smiled. Wang Ye is very good. That's good, that's good. So this was how people were. They could casually scold, ridicule, and even beat their own children. But if others said bad, they would definitely be unhappy. If others said good, they would feel honored. They would give a lot of rewards. Then his eyes turned and he said casually, since Lao Lu is already married, shouldn't you do well in the future to share Zhan's worries? Li Hongyuan sneered in his heart. No matter how nice his words sounded, he was still worried in his heart. There are many brothers who share imperial father's worries. Chen is used to being lazy. I'm afraid that I can't share imperial father's worries and will only cause trouble. My son, you're belittling yourself. Chen is annoyed and doesn't have the patience to do things, alright? Luqing Emperor was helpless. Zhen doesn't know what to say to you. Since that's the case, forget it. Jingwan could see that her imperial father treated her husband in the same way as noble consort Su. They thought that their son was a treasure. In the eyes of outsiders, he was also a treasure. But in Jingwan's eyes, he was no different from a blade of grass. They had deprived him of the most important things, and then carried out the so-called compensation. They were giving him sweet dates, but at the same time they were beating him to death. That kind of heart-wrenching pain was worse than not giving anything. After all, without the sweetness of receiving, there would be no pain of losing. Without the emotional investment, one would not be hurt to the point where one's body was covered in cuts and bruises. She could not blame her husband for being a living king of hell. She could not blame her husband for being black-hearted. He was forced to do it. And the person who forced him to this point did not have the slightest awareness. She even bitterly lamented that he had grown up crooked. On the way to the imperial harem, Jingwan took the initiative to hold Li Hongyuan's hand and whispered, Wang Ye, if you don't betray me, we will never leave each other in this life. Li Hongyuan was amused. Did Wan sympathize with him? But Wan is also a selfish person. There are conditions for not leaving each other. Why can't you stay by my side no matter what? Then I'll have to disappoint Wang Ye. Wan, with your personality, you can't do it sometimes. There are some things that you can't say. Saying it won't do you any good. If it were someone else who said those words just now, you would most likely be left alone in your room. Then will Wang Ye do that? Jingwan stared at him. He won't. So it's okay to say it in front of Wang Ye. I believe Wang Ye. Li Hongyuan chuckled. That was why Wan could always easily grasp his emotions. However, even though he had fallen into her hands for 2 lifetimes, he was willing to endure it. He leaned over and planted a light kiss on her lips. Knowing that there was something wrong with this place, Jingwan didn't avoid it this time. She didn't even look around to see if she was seen. This kind of relationship gradually brought their hearts closer to each other. This kind of feeling was actually not bad. Li Hongyuan felt that he had more patience to completely capture Jingwan's heart. Speaking of which, as the head of the imperial harem, the empress was happy to become the emperor's legal wife. If it was an ordinary family, even if the son of a concubine got married, there was no reason for him to serve tea to his own concubine. After all, the imperial harem was a special place. There were many people who received a cup of tea from the bride. As a son of a concubine, as long as the status of his birth mother or adoptive mother was high enough, the first person to serve tea might not be the empress. Of course, it was more customary to start with the empress. Li Hongyuan sent Jingwan to the Jade Essence Palace, which was not unexpected at all. However, seeing Jingwan in a big dress, the people in the Jade Essence Palace, including noble consort Su, were all stunned. Princess Lu, in particular, felt that it was a mistake to wear a princess's dress to the palace today. Not to mention that she wanted to suppress others. In fact, after being a princess for several years, she couldn't suppress a maid who just got married in terms of bearing. It was like being slapped in the face. It was burning pain. No matter what grade of dress it was, the most important thing was to be dignified and elegant. However, this dress depended on temperament. Some people, even if they wore a dragon robe, would not look like a crown prince. It was the same principle. Generally speaking, Jingwan was not fully mature yet, so this kind of dress was not suitable for her. Secondly, she had not experienced the influence of the corresponding status, so it was difficult for her to have a bearing that matched her status. Therefore, when she got married for the first time, it was difficult for her to completely suppress the dress and let the dress serve as a foil. Jingwan was young, but she suppressed it. Her words and actions were not unnatural at all, as if she was born to be like this. After all, it was the same dress, so it was natural for people to subconsciously compare it. Therefore, everyone present could see it. Then, those who had nothing to do with it silently lowered their heads. Well, before Jingwan came in, no one felt that it was wrong for Princess Lu to dress like this, nor did they feel that there was anything wrong with showing off to their sister-in-law. However, when the effect was completely opposite to what they expected, it was embarrassing. Noble consort Su also agreed with Madame Lu to suppress Jingwan. It was more or less unpleasant for Jingwan to steal her son. Now she glanced at Princess Lu indifferently, and there was a flash of dissatisfaction in her eyes. When she looked at Li Hongyuan and Jingwan, she put on a natural and sincere smile. "You're here. Hurry up and find a seat for Yun'er and his wife. Mother, let's serve tea first. It's still early today, and we have to go to other palaces. Then we have to worship in the Imperial Ancestral Temple. Next afternoon we have to meet the relatives. I know that you like Jingwan. After today, ask her to come to the palace often to talk to you." Noble consort Su felt her liver hurt, but she couldn't find any fault with what her son said. Yun'er is right. There will be plenty of time in the future. She asked the servants to quickly serve the prepared tea. Jingwan knelt in front of noble consort Su. "Mother, please drink tea." The aunt next to her took the tea and handed it to noble consort Su. Noble consort Su took a sip and said something like being virtuous and considerate, and having children for the imperial family as soon as possible. She also talked a lot, as if she was caught in some memories that she couldn't extricate herself from. She couldn't stop her eyes from turning red. In short, she kept talking about Julian. In short, he was like her lifeblood, and she must take good care of him. No matter how much she said, Li Hongyuan didn't know. He only knew that his wife had been kneeling for a long time. Sure enough, Li Hongming was so good that she had the leisure to embarrass his sweetheart. "Oh child, why are you still kneeling? It's all my fault. I forgot about you for a moment. Hurry up and get up." The palace maids also hurried forward to help her. "Thank you, mother." Jingwan stood up. There were some things that had been done to the extreme, but when talking about it, it was as if she didn't know anything and was sincere. Jingwan thought that she could never reach this height in her life. Noble consort Su also gave a generous reward. As Li Hongyuan said, she was a very good mother-in-law. Even if she let Jingwan kneel for a while, it would never make people feel that she was embarrassed. Jingwan and the others went to Kunyi Palace. When the empress saw Jingwan, she lamented in her heart that it was a pity. The daughter of the Minister of Works was far inferior to her. However, she couldn't find a better candidate. However, the empress wasn't a person who wouldn't let go of this kind of thing. She went through the formalities, gave the rewards, and sent the couple away with a smile. Then they went to Qin Shufei's Sweet Dew Palace. Jingwan felt that Qin Shufei treated her much more sincerely than Empress Sun and noble consort Su. Qin Shufei didn't even have any distracting thoughts, which made Jingwan more or less surprised. As for the other concubines, they weren't qualified. After this, it was time to worship the imperial ancestral temple and tell the ancestors that the Li royal family was a little more prosperous. Of course, Jingwan couldn't enter the imperial ancestral temple. There was only one woman who could enter, and that was the empress. Even the Empress Dowager, if she hadn't been promoted from the Empress, probably hadn't entered once in her life. It was already late when they entered the palace. When they were done, it was time for lunch. Noble consort Su stayed for lunch, and Lu Chengdi also came. Facing the dishes that needed to be tasted one by the time they were ready to eat, the hot dishes would have already been cold. And for those dishes that needed to be eaten while they were hot, 99% of them would be wasted. There were all kinds of rules which made her stomach hurt. Li Hongyuan didn't care about it, but he knew Jingwan's appetite. He also knew that she ate regularly. Obviously she couldn't be full, so his face was a little pale. So, when Lu Chengdi put down his chopsticks, he directly got up and left. After leaving the palace, Li Hongyuan had originally planned to take Jingwan to a restaurant outside to have an extra meal. Jingwan was speechless. A Qin Wang Wangfei wearing a Qin Wang ceremonial robe going to a restaurant with a Qin Wang ceremonial guard. What was he doing? Jingwan didn't hesitate to drag him back to the prince's mansion. As a servant, she naturally needed to be alert enough. Jingwan and others arrived at the prince's mansion. After they changed their clothes, the food was already on the table. Jingwan didn't stand on ceremony. She ate happily and quickly. From time to time, she put food in Li Hongyuan's bowl. Actually, he was serving Jingwan most of the time. He also knew Jingwan's taste like the back of his hand. In fact, watching a person eat so happily was also a kind of enjoyment. With a happy expression and enjoying the process of eating, he had never seen it in his previous life. At that time, Jingwan's appetite was not bad. However, eating seemed to be for survival and there was no more meaning to it. Looking at her so lively, it was more delightful. After Jingwan filled her stomach, she realized that her husband didn't seem to have eaten much. He was such a strong man, and he couldn't be eaten by a cat. Well, as a wife, wasn't she a little negligent? But the food on the table was her leftovers. Should she change the table? She was a little hesitant. Li Hongyuan smiled and started to eat. Li Hongyuan ate very quickly. Of course, even so, he didn't lose his manners. His appetite was also very good. At the same time, it was obvious that he was actually a carnivore. She didn't see him pick up the vegetables on the table with his chopsticks. This won't do. Jingwan specially picked vegetables for him. Facing Li Hongyuan's raised eyebrows, she smiled and said, "Eat more vegetables to be healthier. Moreover, this concubine suggests that your highness eat slowly." Chewing carefully and swallowing slowly was good for digestion and absorption. Shouldn't pleasing a person be based on the other party's preferences? Your highness wants this concubine to please you, is that all? Forget I said that. Although he preferred meat dishes, it didn't mean that he didn't eat vegetables. Therefore, This lunch ended in a very satisfied atmosphere between the two masters. Li Hongyuan hugged Jingwan and sat for less than half an hour. The spring scenery was good, so he asked someone to set up a bed in the courtyard. Hugging Jingwan, he laid down on it and took an afternoon nap. Jingwan didn't know if it was her imagination, but she felt that a certain someone was a little clingy. Moreover, it seemed to be getting worse. Especially after he fell asleep. He wouldn't let go of her. There was no doubt that if someone tried to snatch her from him while he was sleeping, he would explode and kill them. Digression: I promised to give you 10,000 today, but in the end it was only half. Dear, I'm sorry, please forgive me. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653375. HTML. Click here to report an error. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book: www.bicken.com mobile edition. Chapter 242. She soon fell asleep in Li Hongyuan's arms. She was a little tightly wrapped around, but it didn't matter when she got used to it. So, this habit was really a terrible thing, but it was also a good thing. Even if she woke up a lot later in the morning, Jingwan didn't get enough sleep last night. So when she woke up naturally, it took her more than an hour longer than usual. As for Li Hongyuan, he didn't sleep that long. He couldn't resist the fact that he had a beauty in his arms. He could either empty his mind and close his eyes to take a nap, or stare blankly at Jingwan's sleeping face. He could pass the time. When Jingwan found out that she overslept again, she was a little annoyed. What was this? We didn't set the time to enter the palace, and Imperial Father didn't say anything. What's wrong with letting them wait a little longer? Li Hongyuan didn't care. How can it be the same? If they entered the palace according to the set time, they had to wait for Emperor Luchengdi to finish the morning court and deal with important government affairs. They could only be late but not early. He was the father and the ruler of the world. When it came to serving tea, it was impossible to skip him to serve other people first. So when he summoned them, he would see them very quickly. He wouldn't care about when they arrived, especially his son who had a lot of bad records. These relatives were different. They completely put down their own things and waited there. As a newcomer, being late would definitely make them unhappy. This prince is already giving face by being willing to go. If you have any complaints, you have to hold it in for this prince. Jingwan silently covered her face. Well, she didn't know anything. She was a beautiful pure white lotus. If someone was willing to take the blame, and he didn't feel any pressure, then there was no need to be polite. She could just boldly throw it at him. Li Hongyuan seemed to have seen that Jingwan was gradually coming to her senses. However, he naturally couldn't take the blame alone. No matter what, he had to reciprocate politeness. But there was no hurry, he could take it slowly. Li Hongyuan curled his lips into a smile. Wanwan, if you do anything bad in the future, just blame it on this prince. If you have a request that this prince will turn to you, just accept it. However, remember to raise the bar high from the beginning. Don't let others be absolutely certain that begging for mercy is cheap and easy. It was truly intoxicating to have such a husband who made his wife so greedy. Gold, silver, jewelry, and so on, don't you have enough? Isn't it more valuable to have a favor? Li Hongyuan pinched the tip of Jingwan's nose. Wanwan is right, but it depends on the situation. Your husband can't brazenly let people owe favors now. Favors also mean connections. If there are too many, some people will be unhappy. It doesn't matter if it's troublesome or not, but it will take up my time. I'd rather accompany you if I have the leisure time. So, in most cases, it's better to settle the money in goods. As long as there are a few cases, I don't think I need to teach Wanwan what to do. Actually, it doesn't matter how you do it. I'm here for everything. Jingwan also knew the severity of the situation. She was just saying it casually. In fact, she would never interfere in things that she should not interfere in. However, this man gave her a strong backing and enough confidence. He even gave her the right to participate in court politics. This was no longer as simple as indulging her. Did he know what he was doing? Did Li Hongyuan not know what he was doing? Course he knew. How could this kind of thing make him lose his mind? Li Hongyuan kissed her lips. One day she would know what he was doing. He didn't mind using the rest of his life to give her the answer. Do you still want to go out? Otherwise, don't go and serve tea. They're not afraid of shortening their lives if they eat the tea you serve. Jingwan slapped his face and pushed his head away. She went into the room to change her clothes. Li Hongyuan smiled at Jingwan's disrespect. So, it was absolutely necessary to spend so much time to get close to her before the wedding. Otherwise, if it were a conventional way of getting along with each other, how could the newlywed be so casual and even unscrupulous on the second day of the wedding? Li Hongyuan really felt that he was too wise. Seeing that the clan relatives were outside the palace, everyone gathered in the house of the oldest ancestor, which was Li Hongyuan's great-granduncle. There were people inside and outside the house, including Li Hongyuan's brothers and sisters. However, whether they were married or not, there were also some Qin Wang, Jun Wang, Qin Wang Fei, Jun Wang Fei, and people who rarely showed themselves. As long as they were still in Lu Qingdi's family, they were all present at this time. In terms of status, except for those in the palace, there was probably no one more honorable than these people in the entire Qi Yuan. So many people were waiting for that pair of newlyweds. Knowing Li Hongyuan's virtue, some people had already arrived half a quarter of an hour late, and there were even more people who arrived on time. However, they still underestimated a certain person. After waiting for so long and drinking a bellyful of tea, their resentment was about to soar to the sky. They couldn't help but want to shake their hands and leave, but in the end they still endured it. There was no other way, the rules had always been like this. If they left, not only would they not give face to Jin Qinwang, they would also not give face to Lu Qingdi. That was equivalent to not giving face to the parents of food and clothing. Course, there were also those who had a better attitude. In any case, there was nothing to do, so waiting was just waiting. Usually there was still a lot of idle time. Moreover, the time for such a big family to gather was relatively rare. Even if they gathered in the palace on important holidays, there were too many rules, so it was better to be lively like this. By the time the main character arrived, no one dared to complain in front of him. They only snorted twice and curled their lips, but that living king of hell would coldly stare at them. Their bodies would stiffen, and they would uncomfortably turn their heads away, afraid of being stared at. Although there were many elders, there was not a single one who could make Li Hongyuan kneel and kowtow. It was already not bad to make him bow. Because there were many people, Jingwan received a lot of things, but there were also a lot of things that were sent out. Therefore, her own servant girls, as well as Li Hongyuan's original servant girls, were all dispatched. However, in the end, Jingwan still didn't know who exactly there were. There was no way to make all the preparations before the marriage. Who were the uncles and aunts? Who were the nephews and nieces? Except for the pouches on the outside, everything inside was prepared by Li Hongyuan. Jingwan completely didn't think that except for the imperial princes, princesses, imperial grandsons and imperial granddaughters, which took a bit of thought, the rest were all simply and crudely stuffed with banknotes. What made people even more speechless was that among these people, Li Hongyuan didn't even know how to address a small half of them. He also didn't know which generation they were, and they stood beside Jingwan with a cold expression. Jingwan didn't feel embarrassed. It was just that he was also very capable to be able to conduct himself like this. It was still the same sentence. Those with a good attitude would all smile and tell Jingwan, "I am Hongyuan" or something. Those with a bad attitude would pull a long face. They were obviously very angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. Under the reminder of others, Jingwan also called for people. Because the younger generation had to greet Jingwan first, this one was smart and directly introduced himself. The rest followed suit and it was much smoother. took more than 2 hours until it was completely done. It was really a bit tiring. This was the result of crazily spreading out branches and leaves. What made Jingwon more surprised was that there were a few people whose faces were a bit green. It looked like they had drunk too much. It was just that most of these people were at Jin Wangfu yesterday. Did they go crazy after drinking? A certain person was also crazy last night. He drank more wine than anyone else, but he was still in high spirits. Wasn't this difference a bit too big? Who knew that these people were all trying to get Lee Hongyuan drunk? Instead, they were ruthlessly cheated by Lee Hongyuan. The after-effect of the wine was very strong. It was better if they weren't drunk at that time. If they were drunk at that time, they would feel uncomfortable for at least 3 days. Ordinary hangover soup and hangover medicine were completely useless. They were already very capable to be able to hold on and go out today. In fact, when they saw Lee Hongyuan, they knew that they were cheated. No matter how good their alcohol tolerance was, they couldn't reach this level. But what could they do? They were the ones who went up, and he didn't force them. No matter how uncomfortable it was, they could only pinch their noses and accept it. I didn't know that Lao Lu's alcohol tolerance was so good. Let's have a good drink some other day. Li Hongming said with a smile. When the spirit wasn't good, the charm value would be greatly reduced. Forget it. Your sister-in-law said that drinking too much is harmful to the body. In the future, drink less. If you want to drink, don't look for me. Many people's eyes subconsciously looked at Jingwon. When did the living king of hell become so obedient? Jingwon pursed her lips and smiled but didn't say anything. She threw the blame to the other party. It was fine for her to help the other party carry the unimportant blame. Drinking too much was harmful to the body. Whether it was intentionally used to block people's mouths or not, it was good to have this awareness. It's naturally not a problem if you don't drink. Still okay to get together. Li Hongming continued. A group of big men, what are you doing together if you don't drink? Not interested. Li Hongming wanted to vomit blood. When men gather together, what can they do if they don't drink? The one who has the least qualification to say this is you. Now you're actually pretending to be innocent here. Who are you pretending for? It's simply. Li Hongyuan looked at Jingwon. Jingwon was a little confused. What did he mean? Could it be that she had to carry the blame again? Hey, don't play people like this. Li Hongyuan didn't move his gaze away. Jingwon only felt her scalp go numb. If she didn't say something, wouldn't it be over? Or if she didn't go along with him, it wouldn't be over. Moreover, she couldn't tear down her own husband's stage. Wasn't that the same as slapping her own face? We're all brothers of the same family. Still okay to simply keep in touch. Li Hongyuan nodded with an expression that said, whatever Jingwon says, it's all right. Not to mention that everyone was dumbstruck. Even Jingwon couldn't maintain the calm expression on her face. Her heart moaned in grief and pain. Grandmother, save me. Jin Wang wanted to play with his life with her. She couldn't bear it. Then I should invite you tomorrow. I still have to go to the Luo family tomorrow, so I'll take my leave first. Li Hongyuan's attitude was very good, which made people feel flattered. He pulled Jingwon and left on the spot. The people who stayed in place all looked at each other in dismay. In the end, what was he playing at? Jingwon also wanted to know what he wanted to do. Li Hongyuan raised an eyebrow. What are you doing? Aren't you helping Wan brush up a good impression? Was this how to brush up a good impression? This was clearly pushing her to the heart of the struggle. Then, noble consort Su would invite her for tea. She didn't know why, but Jingwon always had a bad feeling, as if something was about to be broken. Perhaps it wasn't just that. In short, her heart felt a little uncomfortable. Returning to Jin Wangfu, there were indeed a lot of things that needed to be prepared for the return trip tomorrow. There weren't many people in the Luo family, but there definitely weren't few either. Those of Jingwon's generation who were married out would bring their husbands back. Calculating the time, the two of them were already stable, so the possibility of them not coming back was really too small. There were a lot of gifts to prepare, and it couldn't be done by just stuffing them with banknotes. However, when Jingwon knew about this, the gaze that she looked at Lee Hongyuan was a little more subtle. "Old man, you're the one who's wearing clothes, right? Big or small matters, as long as it was a gift, it would be directly solved with money." This essence was the crystallization of wisdom of the people in her previous life. Where did you learn it? It's convenient and saves trouble. Those people are also poor, so money is the most in line with their thoughts. Everything you say is right. Jingwon didn't want to argue with him anymore. He was always polite. Just as Jingwon was pondering how to gift, Gong Mama had already made a list for her. Jingwon was about to take it and look at it, but Lee Hongyuan took it and very naturally hugged Jingwon to look at it together. It seemed that ever since she entered this house, she had never escaped from his embrace. Was it not possible to not hug? Lee Hongyuan used his actions to tell her. No. Jingwon didn't struggle anymore. Gong Mama's list was very much in line with her intentions. However, the specific choice still needed to be considered. Everything had its own advantages and disadvantages. Lee Hongyuan handed the things to Gong Mama. "Tell Muan to open the inner treasury and take the best." "Wangya, this won't do." Thinking about it, Jin Wangfu's inner treasury was equivalent to Lee Hongyuan's private treasury. The things inside must be of the highest quality. This was really too precious. It wasn't that Jingwon was stingy with her maternal family, but if they took it in their hands, it would be scalding. If outsiders knew about it, they would be attacked. "Don't worry, the imperial gifts that can't be used are all sealed separately and won't violate the rules." "No." "All right, I know what you're worried about. Don't worry, Ben Wang's things. Ben Wang can give it to whoever Ben Wang wants. Other people have no right to interfere. Luo Jia raised you, but in the end it benefited me. It's just some external things. How can it be compared to a living treasure like you? No matter how many things you give, it would be a loss for Luo Jia. I know that every time your grandfather sees Ben Wang, he grits his teeth and can't wait to give me a good beating. If I don't give him some compensation, perhaps when I visit tomorrow, he will really take action." Jingwon's cheeks reddened. Glib tongue. This skill of sweet-talking should have been maxed out long ago. It's no wonder that he could play such a high-level game like Sheng Dot. "Don't slander my grandfather. He is a cultured person and also has the strength of a scholar. He doesn't care about your worldly things. Since it's worldly things, then it's even less of a problem. Can give more." Jingwon didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "That's enough. Won, you're not qualified to be a married daughter. Other married daughters would try their best to move things to their parents' home, wishing that they could empty their husband's home. Unlike you, who would use all sorts of excuses to refuse your husband's gift. Jingwon. Naturally, Granny Gong wouldn't hesitate to choose the best things. When facing Lee Hongyuan, the word polite didn't exist in her dictionary. After seeing the last item, Lee Hongyuan once again educated Jingwon. "In this aspect, you should learn from your granny. Don't be so stingy, okay? Your husband doesn't have anything else, but he has a lot of money and these things." Was she being stingy? Was she? Jingwon couldn't be bothered to look at him anymore. That night, although Lee Hongyuan didn't do the full set, he didn't let Jingwon off the hook either. The hungry wolf whose eyes were already green with hunger had completely eaten meat. How could you expect him to be a vegetarian? The reason why he let Jingwon off the hook was purely because Jingwon had her first pleasure the night before and was indeed injured. So, it's not good for this man to be too majestic. Jingwon smacked his face again. This shameless man. The next day, Jingwon didn't wake up late. As usual, she spent quite a bit of time doing morning exercises. Lee Hongyuan watched from beginning to end for the first time. He also truly witnessed Jingwon's flexibility and toughness. It wasn't difficult for her to form a circle. He stroked her small buttocks. Oh, it really couldn't be any better. Jingwon got up and saw his half-closed eyes with an intoxicated appearance. Jingwon's back felt a chill. It seemed that she had done something stupid. She threw the handkerchief at hand over and covered his face. Scoundrel! Can't you think of anything else other than perverted material? Li Hongyuan didn't immediately take down the handkerchief. Instead, he covered his face and took 2 breaths. It was full of Jingwan's scent. Jingwan. Luo Jinghua came to the door, preparing to bring Jingwan back home. Jin Qin Wang Fu prepared a sumptuous breakfast. Before breakfast, Luo Jinghua received 3 sets of tea and pastries. During breakfast, Li Hongyuan gave the head seat to him. The eldest brother-in-law sitting at the head seat was only in an ordinary family. The imperial family didn't have such a rule. Therefore, Luo Jinghua felt as if he was sitting on pins and needles. This wasn't glory, it was suffering. Jingwan didn't say anything and didn't want to say anything. Li Hongyuan definitely had a reason to refute her. She just mourned for her elder brother. After breakfast, everything was prepared. Although the two didn't wear coronation robes or formal attire, they still used the Qin Wang ceremonial guards. This wasn't to show off or anything else. On the contrary, it was to show that they valued Luo Jia. Other than Luo Peishan, the rest of the Luo Jia went out to greet them, including the 2 sisters who had already brought their family back. When they saw the ceremonial guards gradually approaching, the men and women of the large family who were still relatively idle separated and stood properly. Li Hongyuan got down from the carriage first and stood in the same place. He very naturally reached out to help Jingwan down. Whether it was good or bad, the subtleties revealed the truth. Old Madame Luo was very gratified, but her heart was a little sour. This was the treasure that she had raised for more than 10 years. It was said that this mother-in-law was unhappy because the daughter-in-law stole her son. Then what about the bride's family? They had painstakingly raised their daughter. After marriage it was rare to see her, so wouldn't they be even more unhappy? Therefore, after marrying their daughter, they should treat her well. Greetings to Wang Yi and Wang Fei. Jin Yi and Wang Fei. Dispense with the formalities. Seeing her relatives salute her, Jingwan had an urge to cry. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653377. HTML chapter error. Click here to report, no registration required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com. Bikugo mobile reading website. Bicken. Chapter 243. After entering the Luo residence, Jingwan and Li Hongyuan separated. Li Hongyuan might not have the patience to deal with the other members of the Luo family, but he had to give Jingwan time to talk to her family. If he did not give her time, he would probably really make his wife hate him. His experience was different and he was at a different level from his peers. Problems that were difficult for others to solve might be child's play in his eyes. Therefore, whether it was Jingwan's brothers, his brother-in-law, or even Jingwan's father, it was fine for them to talk about romantic affairs. If they talked about important matters or the current situation, others would argue in full swing, and he would probably be so bored that he wanted to sleep. In these matters, Luo Peishan was probably the only one in the Luo family who could keep up with his pace. Unfortunately, he was not here. In addition, Jingwan's grandfather could more or less say a few words, but that old man knew that he was not qualified to talk to Li Hongyuan with the attitude of an elder, and there were only juniors here, so he did not join in the fun. Therefore, everyone slowly stopped talking. They would not think that Li Hongyuan felt that it was too simple and did not want to talk, but only that he did not understand. Therefore, it was inevitable that they would look down on him more and more in their hearts. Especially Luo Rongyan. He was very indignant in his heart. How could his daughter marry such a person? But he did not think about himself and how he had improved. Jingwan's uncle and others, because they did not know the situation, only thought that Li Hongyuan was a noble and did not bother to talk to them. On the contrary, They were more restrained and unrestrained, adhering to the principle of using more ears and less mouth. However, no matter how much they had opinions about Li Hongyuan, they did not dare to show the slightest bit. But what kind of person was Li Hongyuan? With such obvious emotions, he did not need to guess or look to know what they were thinking. Luo Peishan was a sly old fox, and he was very capable. However, he could not train his sons well. In order to give his wife a strong family, he had to let him train his brothers-in-law well. After a few years they would be able to use them. Therefore, the grandchildren of the Luo family had gradually been subjected to the high-pressure policies of their grandfather. In some unknown place, there was an even more tragic homework waiting for them. Changing the topic, this side was still harmonious and harmonious. Jingwan's side naturally didn't need to be said. Luo Laofuran didn't directly ask whether Jingwan was well or whether Jin Qinhuang treated her well. Whether someone was good or bad could often be seen with one's eyes. It was even more obvious on Jingwan. She hadn't put on any makeup, so everything could be seen at a glance. Furthermore, it was rare for newlyweds to have a bad relationship. Basically, it belonged to the type of newlyweds where the husband already had someone in his heart or by his side. The marriage was not out of his heart. He would subconsciously or even deliberately neglect his wife, which would make the grand aunt's face sad when she returned home. The Luo family's parents were strict, so the probability of this happening to the married girls was very low. Whether it was Jingwan or Luo Laofuran, they didn't want to create an atmosphere of not being a family. When Jingwan returned to the Luo family, she was still a member of the Luo family and not a guest. Under the deliberate efforts of the two, the estrangement caused by the change in status of Jingwan gradually disappeared. They still treated her as their family's third girl, still treated her as a good younger sister and elder sister. Even if she became a Wangfei, this did not change. The group of little people happily opened their gifts. In addition to the gifts that were specially prepared for them, there was also a large pile of various toys. From the small things that they could only hold firmly when they were a few months old, to the big things that they could find in their early teens, they could find things that they liked. Rich and colorful, there were all kinds of things that they had never seen before. It could be seen that the source of these things was very wide. "Your Highness is so considerate." Jingwan smiled but didn't say anything. Could she say that these things actually had nothing to do with a certain king of hell? It was accumulated by the loyal and dutiful eunuch Mu. For the sake of the future young heir and young princess of the Luo family, he started a few years ago. It could be said that he worked as a personal attendant and a head steward, worrying about his mother's heart. Jingwan originally thought that things for children should be mainly toys, but then eunuch Mu very flatteringly presented his treasures. On the other hand, Madame Wang and the others felt that these things were too expensive and a little bit afraid to accept them. Not to mention, Jingwan's maternal grandmother, who received the same things as Luo Laofuran, felt that it was even more troublesome. Luo Laofuran waved her hand. "Just accept it as a gift. Mother-in-law, take it as a filial piety from Jingwan as your granddaughter." Her awareness was much higher than Jingwan's. Jingwan didn't say anything. Since her grandmother felt that there was no problem, why should she blindly worry? It was said that the hand that received gifts was short, especially the womenfolk of the Luo family. Big and small, the good things that they received from Jingwan were not few in number. When they treated her, they would naturally be more eager and careful. Luo Laofuran dismissed them all, including Zhang Shi and her daughter. Grandparent and grandchild chatting was a daily routine in the past. Although she was assured of Jingwan, and it seemed that Jin Qinhuang's enthusiasm for Jingwan didn't show any signs of fading, but the worry in her heart wouldn't disappear because of this. The most important point was, Wan, you are still young. If possible, give birth to another child in 2 years. Between husband and wife, it's best to be open and say it directly. Don't hide it. Many things are because you don't say it, causing some irreconcilable misunderstandings. About the child, Wang Ye also said that my body's bones haven't grown yet. Let's wait for 2 more years. As for the other things, grandmother can rest assured. I know what to do. In fact, there was nothing to know. Some things couldn't be controlled by humans. That's good. Also, Jean Qinhuang is not as bad as the rumors say. Don't listen to what others say, especially people related to you. You should feel and experience it yourself, and not listen to what others say. Jingwan took Luo Lao Furen's arm. Grandmother, don't worry. No. Don't worry about me. You have to take care of yourself and live a long life. Not only do you have to watch me give birth, but also watch my child grow up and start a family. Then wouldn't I become an old witch? Luo Lao Furen laughed. What's wrong with being an old witch? How many people want to be like that? You are. I won't say any more. Your future path you have to walk on your own. Those flowers and plants in Begonia House, when you go back today, take them back to the Wangfu. Leave them in the Luo family to ruin. That's fine. It wasn't that she didn't want to leave them, but the flower slaves were always careful and raised too carefully. They didn't grow as well as those in her hands. Those were her treasures. It's just that grandfather will be sad. Why do you care about him? You don't have the ability to take care of them, but you still pretend. Jingwan chuckled and remained silent. This was the fun of the old couple. Jingwan left Luo Lao Furen's place and went to see her mother. Her grandmother was also in Luo Mei House. When Madame Zhang saw Jingwan, she was like a flood breaking through the dike. Ever since she knew that she was actually very incompetent as a mother, she didn't think about how to improve their relationship. Instead, she cried more and more. It seemed that as long as she cried, everything could be remedied. As a result, she became more and more sentimental. She became more and more sorrowful, which made her more poetic. Except that the husband and wife became more and more congenial. She was almost completely hopeless. When Jingwan saw Madame Zhang like this, she had the urge to turn around and leave. Jingwan's grandmother was also angry. Before her daughter got married, although she was a little sad, it was only a little. After she got married, she would definitely get better. After all, a girl in the boudoir was completely different from a married woman. But now she was getting worse and worse. Not to mention the daughter who had been separated for a few years. Even the son who was by her side seemed distant and polite to his parents. Didn't this pig's brain notice it? If Jingwan knew what her grandmother was thinking, she would probably tell her that her mother's brain was filled with her father. As long as she had her father, she would probably be able to spend a lifetime with him. Now that her father seemed to have changed his mind about women, wasn't it worse? Madame Zhang was suppressed by her mother. Jingwan and the old lady had a good talk, and the relationship between them became a lot closer. Finally, Jingwan thought about it and opened her mouth. Both uncles are good. Grandmother and grandfather don't need to worry. Not to mention a meteoric rise, but to revitalize the family, it is still possible to continue the Zhang family. The old lady stared blankly and immediately understood Jingwan's meaning. She almost cried. Good, good, good. Our family has benefited from Wan's glory. In the future, in the future. Grandmother, we are all one family. Moreover, the main thing is that both uncles are good. The old lady was very clear about Jingwan's meaning. If there was a problem, she would never help. Your two uncles are definitely good. If there is a bad one, your grandfather and I will break their legs. Grandmother's words are too serious. After the old lady was happy, she hesitated. Wan just got married, is it not good? Grandmother doesn't need to worry. It's fine. She and Jean Qinhuang just got married. It was the same and different from other people. She only sought some benefits for her relatives within a reasonable range. She didn't feel that it was inappropriate. If the distinction was too clear, it would seem estranged. The people of the present world talked about the good of two surnames and the binding of common interests. Jingwan bid them farewell and left. However, before she could find Sun Yijia and the others to talk to, she had already coincidentally met quite a few people. She was getting married. Other than the Zhang family, there were also some relatives in the residence. Whether it was out of curiosity or with ulterior motives, They were basically taking the place of the fallen one after another. Now Jingwon just wanted to find a quiet place to hide. Therefore, when Jingwon saw the black brocade-robed cold-faced king of hell, it was as if she saw her savior. Lee Hongyuan's aura was too strong. The average person really didn't have the guts to get close. Wangye. Jingwon knelt down to greet him. Lee Hongyuan reached out and pulled her closer. You and I are husband and wife. There is no need to be so polite. Etiquette cannot be discarded. Why did Wang Ye come to the Hoyuan? Want to see the place where Wang Fei used to live. So this concubine will take Wang Ye around. Jingwon lightly smiled. But this pretentious way of getting along with each other made some familiar people feel their stomachache. But in the eyes of those who didn't know, these two people pretended to be very stylish. They were worthy of being the descendants of the heavens. There were no outsiders. Li Hongyuan laughed and scratched Jingwon's nose. Since you don't want to deal with it, just ignore it. In any case, you are related by blood. The other person didn't do anything excessive. At the very least, etiquette is still needed. Do you think everyone is like you? You just became a Wang Fei and you are already high and mighty. You are also damaging the imperial family's face. Marry a husband and follow the husband. If Wan doesn't want to pay attention to someone, then there is no need to pay attention to them. Jingwon gave him a small supercilious look. Inside the begonia house, Jingwon began to tidy up the flowers and plants. Some of them needed to be dug up again. Facing the lush Wei Zi, Li Hongyuan's expression didn't look very good. He knew very well where this thing came from. Leave this peony here. In the backyard of the prince's mansion, there are all 4 famous flowers. Jingwon was surprised. She didn't expect this person to collect flowers and plants. But it doesn't matter if there is one more. The Luo family painstakingly raised you. Why are you not even willing to leave behind a rare flower? So that your grandfather can have something to remember. Last year he showed off a lot of your flowers and plants. This year, he didn't even have a single rare flower. He will scold you for being ungrateful. Li Hongyuan righteously lectured. Jingwon was a little confused. Was this the man who gave her all the good things? The change in style was a little too fast. Jingwon looked at him. No, there was a problem. Your Highness, just say it. Why don't you let me take it away? Li Hongyuan's face darkened. What did his wife mean? Was she talking to him like this because of a peony? Or was it because this peony was given by Sun Yilin, so she couldn't bear to part with it? These roots of trouble should all be chopped off. Jingwon was very curious. What was going on? She was just asking for the reason. Why did his face darken? If you like it, this prince will have people help you get it from other places. You can have as many as you want. Forget about this one. No, why? Your Highness, give me a reason. There is no reason. Li Hongyuan flung his sleeves and went back into the room. Jingwon was stunned. What was going on? He fell out with her just like that. Jingwon was a little annoyed. Princess consort, does His Highness know where this peony came from? Nurse Gong faintly reminded her. Where it came from. Jingwon belatedly realized that this man was jealous. She remembered that he wanted to kill her directly in the past. Jingwon didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Nurse Gong, how can a man like him be so childish? He's clearly making trouble for no reason. Moreover, it's just a matter of a sentence. He can just say it directly. Why is he still making trouble with me? Nurse Gong was also incompetent at ridiculing him. He probably doesn't want to talk about that young Master Sunday. Jingwon facepalmed. Was there a need to avoid it like this? Am I such a person in his eyes? Jingwon only felt very wronged. She just couldn't bear to part with this flower. What did it have to do with the person who gave it to her? She didn't think about this at all. His Highness knows that Princess Consort isn't such a person. His Highness is purely using this as a pretext to make a fuss and ask for benefits from you. Should I say that Nurse Gong is indeed a shrewd person? You can even tell. Jingwan ridiculed. It's His Highness himself. It's not the first time he's done this. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653380. HTML. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com mobile edition reading website. Bicken. Chapter 244. It's Prince himself. It's not the first time he's done something like this. Nurse Gong said with a straight face. That's right, it's not the first time he's done something like this. Forget it. No matter what, he's my husband. We're going to spend the rest of our lives together. It's not like we're just friends on the surface. No matter how precious these flowers are, it's impossible for them to surpass him. She reached out to touch a leaf near the peony. Just leave this Wei Zi here. Someone will take care of it. It's just that the jar of vinegar is jealous to this extent. Right now, he doesn't like flowers given by other people. She can't let it develop to the point where he's hostile towards everything that occupies his time. Speaking of which, Jingwan was just casually thinking about it. Who knew that? Jingwan entered the room. A certain person was very familiar with her room. Right now, he acted as if nothing had happened. He pretended to flip through a book, as if the content of the book was too fascinating. He didn't notice that Jingwan had entered at all. Who is this childish brat? Jingwan was helpless and amused. She walked in front of him twice, but there was still no reaction. Jingwan raised her brows. She turned to leave, but a certain person threw the book in his hand away. He grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his arms. He clasped her chin. His eyes filled with ruthlessness. You're this insincere and impatient. Is a lousy flower more important than this prince? Do you believe that this prince won't burn it down? For those who didn't know or had just interacted with him, Li Hongyuan's behavior was very frightening. However, they had interacted before the engagement, and after the engagement they interacted even more frequently. Moreover, he had treated her differently from the start. It wasn't like he didn't reveal his frightening and ruthless side in front of her. She had even seen him kill people like the god of death. At first, she might have been afraid, but after a while, the angry Li Hongyuan was no different from a paper tiger in Jingwan's eyes. Jingwan looked at him and suddenly laughed. Li Hongyuan's gaze became even more malicious. Is this prince a joke in your eyes? Jingwan suddenly leaned forward and pressed her lips against his. Li Hongyuan's hostility melted like ice and snow, quickly disappearing. He held Jingwan's waist with one hand and the back of her head with the other. He deepened the kiss until Jingwan struggled and gasped for breath, then he let go of her. He rubbed her lips with his thumb until Jingwan grabbed his mischievous hand. Their eyes met, and something seemed to be burning in them. Jingwan was actually reflecting on herself. This man was undoubtedly good to her. Although she wasn't 100% sure, she was 90% sure that she wasn't a substitute. His feelings for her were inexplicable, but they were real. Even if it was an act to be able to act to this extent, it wouldn't make anyone feel indifferent. Right now, she couldn't reciprocate his feelings, but in other areas, she could still treat him a little better. For example, if it was something that he didn't like but wouldn't touch her bottom line, then there was no harm in giving in a little. Yuan. Women should be reserved. She was moved for less than 3 seconds. Jingwan's face cracked. Reserved. You should be reserved for this great aunt to see. Jingwan pushed his hand away and angrily got up to leave. Li Hongyuan chuckled, all his anger gone. The flowers and plants that Jingwan was going to take away had already been packed. There were quite a lot of people at the luncheon. Li Hongyuan naturally sat at the head of the male guests' table, and Jingwan also sat at the head of the female guests' table because of her status. Although there were some things that she did not want to change, she had to change them. There was nothing to be conflicted about, just let nature take its course. An ordinary son-in-law would definitely be forced to drink at this homecoming banquet. But now, naturally, no one dared to do so. However, the Zhang family probably already knew about Jingwan's promise from old Madame Zhang, so they mustered up the courage to toast Li Hongyuan. Li Hongyuan also gave them face and drank it all. As for the others who followed suit, Li Hongyuan directly refused. Therefore, it was enough to make people feel flattered. Since he refused, then so be it. After the luncheon, Li Hongyuan left the Luo family because his wife refused to accompany him and he was bored. However, Jingwan and the others naturally asked him to move their treasures back first. Their attitude was too natural. Jingwan did not feel that there was anything wrong. Li Hongyuan nodded and asked people to go to Begonia House to move their things. He also did not feel that there was anything wrong. In the eyes of others, it was different. Even if it was an ordinary husband and wife, there was no wife ordering the husband around, let alone in the imperial family. Everyone's gaze towards Jingwan was a bit subtle. Should it be said that she had the skill to control her husband? Jingwan was baffled by their gaze, but no one brought it up. Jingwan spent the afternoon in the Luo family. When it was close to evening, Jean Wangfu's carriage came to pick her up. It was not the previous Wangfu's ceremonial procession. It did not look as imposing, but it was far less luxurious than the average family. Everyone sent her off. Facing the greetings of her relatives and elders, Jingwan slowly took a breath and endured it. Moreover, she could not open her mouth to let them go back first. They must watch her carriage leave before they would turn around. Jingwan was helped into the carriage. Just as she entered, "Wangye, why are you here?" "Naturally, to pick you up." To be able to ask such a question, it could be seen that his daughter-in-law was not that intelligent. Forget it, she was already married to him, so there was no need to dislike her. He would just slowly train her. Some things had to be slowly learned. The people outside did not hear what was said afterwards. Regardless, Jean Wangfu, who had left after the lunch banquet, specially came to pick her up at this time. It was enough to see how much importance Jean Wangfu attached to his Wangfei. "All right, seeing that you are good to our family's Gunyang, we will forgive your ignorance." The Luo family's elders and young masters all simultaneously expressed such thoughts. When there were no outsiders, Li Hongyuan always liked to hold her. Jingwan was already used to it. As for the people who served by her side, to put it nicely, they were treated as their own people. To put it bluntly, Li Hongyuan did not care about them at all. Thinking about it, the power of these people's life and death was in their own hands. They were no different from other properties. In Li Hongyuan's eyes, they were probably just decorations that could move and do things. Jingwan quietly nestled in his arms. While playing with his fingers, she talked about the matters of her maternal family. "It's a small matter, I will arrange it." Li Hongyuan paused for a moment. "Don't worry, it won't go through your grandfather. Once you marry into the prince's mansion, there will be people who want to curry favor with you. It's a matter of course for them to casually arrange jobs for your uncles. Although your grandfather is now in a high position, he is also walking the path of a pure official. Everything is done according to the official's rules. This kind of private matter is not easy to start, and once it starts, it is not easy to finish. This is a matter of fawning on several sides. As long as there is a bit of maneuvering, there will be many people willing to help. In any case, they are all insignificant and small officials. They can't cause any waves. And with Wangye, this great Buddha, supporting them no matter where my uncles are, there will be people looking after them. They don't have to worry about being bullied. Biaoge and the others can also study well." Jingwan chuckled. "And I, this great Buddha, can shelter you from the wind and rain, no problem." It was more than no problem, it couldn't be better. If you can help, help. But if you do something wrong, Wangye doesn't need to let others take responsibility. No matter what, they can't be more important than you. Although the last few words were almost inaudible, Li Hongyuan was still in a good mood. This was probably the most romantic words that Wan Wan had ever said. It was really a good sign. After returning home, the bride officially became a member of the husband's family. But she didn't have any special privileges. She had to cook, wash her hands, make soup, and serve the old and young of the family. Of course, this was for ordinary people. For Jingwan, this was useless. Whether or not Jingwan knew how to cook, Li Hongyuan would not let her cook. However, Jingwan could officially take over the Wangfu. In the flower pavilion, many stewards of the Wangfu were already there. They stood respectfully with their heads lowered, waiting for the arrival of their mistress. These people had long been used to there being no mistress in the Wangfu, and the power was in their hands. Because there was only one mistress in the Wangfu, there were only a few people who could serve her closely. The others, including the stewards present, might not be able to see her even once in a year. The mistress was rich and not stingy. As long as she wasn't particularly greedy, there was plenty of money in each position. Although they had long known that there would be a mistress entering the Wangfu, when the day came, they were still unhappy. They even hoped that Jingwan would be jinxed by the Wangfu like the previous ones. However, this woman's life was too hard. She had been engaged for half a year and then firmly married into the Wangfu. If this mistress's temperament was generous, it would be fine. If she was strict or even mean, their good days would come to an end. After all, the Wangfu had brought her dowry, and someone had to give up their position for them. Placing their own people in various positions in the husband's family was something that every mistress would do. It was also helpful for them to gain a firm foothold in the husband's family. All these made them nervous, but they didn't dare to show the slightest negative emotion on their faces, let alone whispering to the mistress. It was true that they had been in the Wangfu for a long time, but they didn't have any affection for Li Hongyuan. Therefore, they didn't dare to act rashly in front of the Wangfu. More importantly, the chief steward had already warned them. When they heard a slight noise, everyone knew that the mistress had arrived. They became more respectful. Out of the corner of their eyes, they saw that there were 6 or 7 people following behind her slightly fluttering clothes. Jingwan sat down at the head of the table and said a few words. The general idea was that they were all in the Wangfu, and in the future they would be conscientious and do their jobs well. If they did well, they would be rewarded, and if they didn't, they would be punished. Jingwan's voice was neither soft nor heavy, and her words were not harsh either. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts. I won't refer to you one by one according to the roster. Come one by one, say your names, and tell me which department you are in charge of. I'll get familiar with you first. Your Highness, I'm Muan, the chief steward of the Wangfu. Eunuch Mu, who was standing by the side, was the first to step forward. He was as respectful as he could be, and even a little flattering. Jingwan saw his fawning look the most clearly and was rather speechless. Speaking of which, this person was still very normal in front of his master and looked like a shrewd person. Why was his style different when he was with her? However, the others were awestruck. Eunuch Mu was the most proud person of the prince, and all the servants in the Wangfu respected him. However, his attitude toward the princess showed the prince's attitude to a certain extent. At this moment they put away all their thoughts. The second master of the prince's mansion was at the same level as the prince. No, for them her status was even higher. After all, the prince didn't care about anything, but the princess could often see him. If they accidentally offended the princess or did something wrong, their fate could be changed with a word. Therefore, the people behind became more and more respectful, and those who were eloquent did not forget to compliment Jingwan. Jingwan also knew the reason. Although she was a little speechless about Muan, he really saved her a lot of trouble. Jingwan listened quietly. In the end, 3 people walked out from a corner. These 3 people were clearly different from the others. There were 2 women and 1 man. One of the women looked to be in her 30s, and the other 2 were even younger, in their early 20s. However, these 3 men were handsome and beautiful. They were very good-looking. Because they came forward, the others retreated with disdain. However, there were also the stewards of the outer courtyard who glanced at the 2 women with lustful eyes. And when they faced Jingwon, they were even more nervous and perturbed. Even if the older one looked calm on the surface, one could still see her uneasiness if one looked closely. This servant is Chao Nyong, in charge of the prince's mansion's performers. This servant is In, in charge of the prince's mansion's female troupe. This servant is Ching Yi, in charge of the prince's mansion's male troupe. Jingwon immediately understood. No wonder it was like this. Probably no woman would like the fox spirit, raised by her own husband. Especially with Jin Qinhuang's reputation. He ate both men and women. It was natural for these people to be worried that the new mistress would flare up. It sounded like these people were someone's harem. How many people are you in charge of? https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653383. HTML chapter error. Click here to report. No registration required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com mobile edition reading website. Bicken. Chapter 245. Chao Nyong answered very quickly. She had more than 30 people under her. Jingwon was interested and asked a few more questions. Then she found out what she wanted to know. Most of them were multi-talented, and some of them were particularly outstanding in a certain aspect. For example, they had a golden voice, or they had an extremely enchanting and charming figure as they danced. Another example was that their attainments in a certain musical instrument were at the level of a great master. Jingwon propped up her chin and was quite interested. Thinking about it, she knew that those who could stay in Jin Qinhuang Fu, their appearance was probably not bad. Perhaps all of them were more beautiful than Jingwon. If these people were placed in her previous life, 9 out of 10 of them would have been praised as goddesses. However, in this place not only were they reduced to the lowest of the low, they were even playthings that others could play with. Their fates were completely out of their control. Thinking of this, Jingwon's interest also faded. If they were well behaved, she didn't mind raising a group of idlers. As for Li Hongyuan, to be honest, if a man wanted to cheat, it wasn't something that you could control or prevent. Especially when male power reigned supreme, saying one more word could be seen as jealousy and become a reason for being abandoned. So why bother? However, some words should be appropriately mentioned. For some men, feelings and bodies were separated. His love for you was not fake, but he also didn't think that there was anything wrong with sleeping with other women. Therefore, she should let him know her own position and thoughts. What choice he would make in the end, it was entirely up to him. Then, she would also know whether she should wholeheartedly manage this marriage and even their feelings, or be a pure virtuous wife and loving mother. From now on they were like strangers. Although they didn't dare to stare straight at Jingwon, the people below still carefully observed Jingwon's expression. Obviously, Jingwon's change in expression made them think crookedly and naturally became more uneasy. Most of the people who stayed in Jin Qinhuang Fu thought that this was a good place to return to. Jin Qinhuang was often elusive and would occasionally appear to admire a dance, listen to a song, or listen to 1 or 2 plays. There was nothing else. The rumor that there was a flute every night was a joke. Jin Qinhuang did take 1 or 2 people with him and then heard how they were favored. But after a few days there was no news. Those who had crooked thoughts and leaned on him didn't have a good ending. Gradually they also understood that being well-behaved and honest, doing what they should do, then they could settle down and live their lives. Moreover, in Jin Qinhuang Fu, no one made things difficult for them. In the eyes of outsiders, Jin Qinhuang was malicious and ruthless, with unpredictable moods, but in their eyes, Jin Qinhuang was a good master. He didn't deliberately do anything but protected them. Therefore, they really didn't want to be driven out. Jingwan didn't ask about the theatrical troupe anymore. However, since there was a distinction between men and women, then there shouldn't be any confusion. Jingwan nodded, indicating that she understood, and let them retreat to one side for the time being. Then Jingwan understood the situation in all aspects and pondered for a moment. Like this, you can send the account books for nearly a year later to the main courtyard. Both the open and the dark account books will be together. When these words came out, there was a small commotion below. Wang Fei, how can this account book be open and dark? Jingwan took a look. That was the steward who was in charge of the kitchen. Before, there was only one master in the Wangfu, Li Hongyuan. The things he ate had a special channel. In this aspect, the purchasing steward couldn't scrape any profit. But don't forget, there were hundreds of people in the Wangfu. Someone like Mu En, who served the master closely, was not worse than other people's masters. This piece was really very fat. If he didn't speak so hoarsely, maybe he would be more credible. I just want to have a look. I'm not going to do anything. If you really don't have any secret accounts, then forget it. Just take whatever you have. Jingwan said softly and took another sip of tea. However, these stewards' hearts were beating like drums. She had said so and given them a choice, but who knew if she was speaking the truth or being sarcastic? If they did not do as she wished, perhaps she would use this opportunity to remove them and replace them with her own position. This Wang Fei was a bit too powerful. But how could they take out the secret accounts? Eunuch Mu stared at these people with unkind eyes. They didn't know what was good for them. They just did whatever the Wang Fei said. They were really too relaxed. They didn't even know their names. They really needed to be taught. Jingwan reached out and gently knocked on the small square table next to her. She glanced at Eunuch Mu lightly. Eunuch Mu hurriedly restrained his expression and pretended to say, "Your Highness, I'm very honest and well-behaved. You don't have to do everything by yourself. Just give the order. However, I'll say the ugly words first. If anyone gets into trouble, the higher-ups will be punished as well. The punishment will be doubled for the higher-ups and quadrupled for the higher-ups. You can't do it more than 3 times. If you do it more than 3 times, you'll lose your job. If you want to be promoted again, you'll have to compete with your own ability. Of course, it's a healthy competition. If you want to play tricks, it's fine. However, you have to be prepared to be kicked out of the prince's mansion once you're found out." This time, everyone was shocked. "Your Highness, this is against the rules." Eunuch Mu wanted to stand up, but he immediately restrained himself. Who was His Highness that she still needed his support? It was simply a joke. Maybe Master would cut him to death later. I don't care about the previous rules. From now on, the big and small matters of Jin Qinhuang Fu are the rules. Do you have any objections? Since a certain someone had handed over the prince's mansion to her to manage, it was natural to follow her rules. She had already said this. What objections could they have? Even if they had to hold it in. Jingwan nodded and continued to speak. "After a few days, I will figure out the situation of the prince's mansion. I will probably set up 2 deputies for each steward. You can also consider it yourselves. As long as you have the ability, you won't stick to one pattern. Deputy, no matter what they did, they could be an assistant, but naturally they could also be a constraint. To put it bluntly, it was probably a check and balance." This time they didn't dare to say anything. They all said that a new broom sweeps clean, but this fire burned too fiercely. The last point, you can only stay in your position for a year. After a year you can choose again. It's up to you to choose. Whether you continue to sit in your position or be overthrown by others, it will all depend on your own ability. This time, each and every one of them were smashed until they saw stars. "So, Wan, are you still not done?" Li Hongyuan's arrival made everyone hurriedly greet him, but Li Hongyuan simply ignored them. Jingwan tilted her head and got up. "Why did Wang Ye come?" Li Hongyuan pulled Jingwan's hand. "Ben Wang hasn't seen you come back for a long time, so Ben Wang came to see. Is the matter very troublesome?" Just throw it to them, there's no need to personally attend to everything. If they can't do a small thing well, just change them. It doesn't matter if there are more people in the prince's mansion, but if they can't share master's burdens, there's no need for them to exist. Jingwan's words made them worry, but Li Hongyuan directly made them keep quiet out of fear. If you don't like these people, you can just replace them with your dowry. It's not that serious. Moreover, with just this concubine's few people, it's not enough to split one person in half. They are all old people in the prince's mansion and are familiar with everything in the prince's mansion. If they were all changed, wouldn't it be a mess? Besides, there's no wrong or wrong here. How can you casually dismiss people? In Wang Ye's eyes, this concubine is a nepotistic and unreasonable person. Jingwan knew that he had her back, so she was naturally very cooperative. Li Hongyuan reached out and pinched the tip of her nose. You really don't have a conscience, treating my good intentions as ill intent. Who is this prince doing this for? It seemed like he was reprimanding her, but his tone and actions were exceptionally intimate. They had never seen Li Hongyuan like this before. It could be seen that Wang Fei had a high position in his heart. Didn't Wang Ye say that he would leave all the big and small matters of the prince's mansion to this concubine? Yes, I'll leave it all to you. You have the final say in everything. Jingwan smiled and then said to the people below, let's end it here for today. Send the account books to the main courtyard as soon as possible. You can disperse. What should be said had been said. Smart people should know what she meant, so there was no need for unnecessary nonsense. On the contrary, Li Hongyuan directly pulled Jingwan away. Now that there was nothing to do, he just took her to stroll around the courtyard. Although she hadn't walked around carefully, Jingwan could roughly see that there were many courtyards in Jin Wangfu, but there were fewer houses built. It was full of corridors and pavilions, flowers and trees, mountains and rivers. The courtyards weren't separated by mud. It was simply a large garden. The layout was beautiful, the design was exquisite, and nothing more beautiful. When there was nothing to do, there were many places to spend time in this mansion. The prince's mansion is built in a unique style and is not the same as other manors. Jingwan's eyes were full of admiration. Like it? I like it very much. Li Hongyuan hooked his lips into a smile with a bit of pride. I designed it. I couldn't tell that Wang Ye has this ability. Jingwan pretended to be surprised. Is it true? That's because I feel that Wang Ye is omnipotent, so it's not strange to do anything. Is this little mouth smeared with honey today so sweet? Let Ben Wang have a taste. Li Hongyuan made a gesture to kiss her. Hey! Jingwan smiled and pushed him away. Where is the theater in the mansion? Li Hongyuan glanced at Jingwan. She didn't hide her thoughts at all, so Li Hongyuan naturally saw through it. I'm raising it for fun. In the future, it will relieve your boredom. If you want to keep it, then keep it. If you don't want to keep it, then send it away. Yuan, I'm not a magnanimous person, Jingwan said seriously. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653386. HTML chapter error. Click here to report, exempt from registration. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com mobile version reading website. Bicken. Chapter 246. Seeing that Jingwan was so serious, Li Hongyuan had a smile in his eyes and stroked her hair, as if he didn't care and didn't care. I know a little vinegar jar, he said perfunctorily. Did he care or not care? Did he understand or not? Jingwan smiled and did not say anything else. She did not say anything more. It would be boring to say anything more. She would get tired of it and it would be annoying. A lot of things were not based on the current promise, nor the current attitude. It was really based on the future performance. Therefore, Jingwon didn't feel that he was being irreverent at this time. In fact, Li Hongyuan also knew Jingwon's mentality. Sweet words didn't have any use on her, otherwise she would have said a lot of things. For such a rational person like her to be able to express her attitude just a few days after getting married was already very rare. However, it was far from enough. Li Hongyuan took Jingwon to leisurely stroll around the garden. Then Jingwon found a lot of precious flowers and trees. As he said, the 4 famous peonies were better than Sun Yilin's. It seemed that the time for transplanting was still not over, not to mention the others, chrysanthemums, plum trees, camellias, orchids and so on. Of course, she hadn't seen most of them yet, but according to the degree of extravagance of the living king of hell, would they be bad? To be honest, Jingwon estimated that the entire capital's famous plants added together might not be as many as he had. It's no wonder. When we were in Duke Dinggua's mansion, I saw that you cut the flowers skillfully and the flowers you chose were also good. Your Highness is also a master. It was really a bit unexpected for him to be so leisurely and elegant. Li Hongyuan smiled but didn't say anything. Some things, after understanding more, even if you don't know, you can learn. When he was the emperor in his previous life because of his poor health, his temper was naturally not easy to control. When he took care of these things, he could be at peace. It wasn't that he liked it, but that the person in his heart liked it, that's all. After walking around for more than 2 hours, they had only walked around less than half of Jin Qin Wang Fu. If they really wanted to carefully appraise it, they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to finish in one day. Jin Qin Wang Fu was so arrogant. On the way back, Jingwon once again looked at the plaque hanging in the main courtyard. Begonia House. It would be a lie to say that she wasn't surprised when she saw it for the first time. Now, Jingwon looked at the man beside her with ridicule. Prince, how lazy must you be to be so casual? She had heard from Qing Shi that this courtyard originally didn't have a name, and it was only put up on the eve of the wedding. Wasn't it just too lazy? Who would have thought that the inscribed board had already existed for several years? When they returned to the main courtyard, Jingwon was informed that all the account books had been sent over. Moreover, they were all in pairs. Jingwon inwardly nodded her head. These people were quite sensible. However, with a master like Li Hongyuan suppressing them, no matter how black their hearts were, she was afraid that they would still leave some leeway. After all, it was fine if the King of Hell didn't bring up the accounts, but once he did, then they would really be crushed into dregs with one foot. Jingwon knew the rules inside, and Li Hongyuan wasn't unclear either. He casually took 2 account books that seemed to be the same and flipped through them. There wasn't much, just a few pages. Then he threw them to the side with a lack of interest. These people's guts are much smaller than I expected. Mingling in Ben Wang's Fu, they shouldn't be worse than 4th or 5th rank officials. These are merely 6th or 7th rank officials. Didn't they say that they are loyal to their masters? Ben Wang's servants aren't that good. Many times, Jingwon was speechless towards this person. There was actually a master who disliked the servants he raised for being greedy for too little money. From this point of view, Jin Qinwang was also considered a big weirdo. She didn't know what those people would think if they knew. Would they be more cautious with their words and actions, or would they be like a wild beast out of the cage and no longer have any scruples? Jingwon only glanced at Mu Gonggong. This could be considered Jin Qinwang's number 1 lackey. If he used Jin Qinwang's name to amass wealth, he could definitely live in a mansion and raise beautiful maids. Whether it was in Jingwon's previous life or this life, there were such eunuchs. High position and power, high position and countless wealth. Such people were not rare. Mu Gonggong lowered his eyebrows and restrained his gaze. He didn't dare to take his master's words seriously. He said that you could do this, but he didn't say that he wouldn't sort you out. The safest thing was that even if you were stupid, cowardly, or even looked down upon, it was still better than being killed one day. He had also received things from others, but it was absolutely not as good as the other Wangye's personal attendants. As for ambition, A castrated person having ambition in front of the king of hell, he. Master, this servant has accounted for the assets of the Wangfu. Why don't I bring them all to Wangfei now? Li Hongyuan nodded. Then, Mu Gonggong left in a hurry, as if he was ready to throw away a hot potato. Mu Gonggong left quickly and came back quickly. Naturally, he didn't move things a little bit, but carried them by the boxes. Regardless of the volume, Mu Gonggong was very attentive and showed the general outline to Jingwan. Jingwan took a thick account book and flipped through it with interest. The more she flipped, the more frightened she became. She looked at Li Hongyuan as if she was looking at a monster. Good boy, she really wanted to pull her good husband over and ask him, "Did you move the national treasury?" That was what Jingwan thought, so she asked. National treasury. Troublesome. Sooner or later it would be his. He didn't have the leisure to move things around and spend time doing accounts. As for the things that were now misappropriated, he didn't care. How much was misappropriated today? He would return it back 10 times or 100 times tomorrow. This is the property of the Wangfu. Ben Wang should have a private property. Aren't these your private property? Before Wan gets married, your private property is equal to the Luo family's property. Li Hongyuan looked as if he was saying, Wan, why did you become stupid? If you really move all the Luo family's property, Luo Shongshu will kill me. How can it be the same? You are the only master in the Wangfu. What's the difference between private property and public property? Now there are 2 of us. These belong to the 2 of us. See, this is the difference. Jingwan was so angry that she lost her temper. She said with a faint smile, Your Highness, do you mean that you are still going to hide a small treasury in the future? Do you have the honor of seeing His Highness's little treasury? Here it is, Your Highness. Mu Gonggong hurriedly handed over a small box. He sold out his master completely without a second word. What a good dog talent. Jingwan looked at Li Hongyuan mockingly. Li Hongyuan glanced at Mu Gonggong as if he was looking at a bastard who lived off his master while helping others. But Mu Gonggong didn't tremble at all at this moment. His back was straight and he was very magnanimous. Jingwan also knew that without Li Hongyuan's tacit approval, how could he, a close attendant, brazenly fawn on the Wangfei who had just married into the family, and act as if he was putting her first? Under normal circumstances, she should be the one fawning on Mu Gonggong. Jingwan stared at it for a moment, and then looked back at Li Hongyuan who was calm. Finally she reached out to take it. To Jingwan and Li Hongyuan, it was not a matter of money, but a matter of attitude. Li Hongyuan had expressed his attitude, so Jingwan should also express her attitude. If she refused, it was equivalent to refusing his kindness. Jingwan took the thing but didn't open it. She put it aside. Mu Gonggong has worked hard, I'll slowly look at it later. Mu Gonggong quivered. Wangfei is overpraising this servant, I can't accept Wangfei's Gonggong. Forget it, before she basically called him directly. But now, if he dared to respond, he probably wouldn't need to see the sun tomorrow. Wan, you are his master. Li Hongyuan pulled Jingwan into a bad situation. I've already told you, you and Ben Wang have the same honor. You can naturally order my people around at will. These words were said easily. How could it be so simple? However, these words really made people very happy. An invitation was handed in from the gatehouse. It was sent by Rui Wangfei. The general idea was that Jin Qin Wang Fu finally welcomed a female master. On the day of the wedding, it was the first time she entered Jin Qin Wang Fu. She was very fond of the scenery of the Wang Fu, but she was in a hurry, so she thickened her face and wanted to visit, asking for permission and so on. Li Hongyuan threw the invitation aside. Those who are not family will not enter the same door. Did it mean that Lu Wangfei and Rui Wangfei were the same kind of people? Since they want to show some people the respect of brothers and sisters-in-law are harmonious, what's the harm in fulfilling their wish? Wan, we have so many good craftsmen, you shouldn't enjoy them alone. Li Hongyuan said with a light smile. Jingwan rolled her eyes. Prince, before you get married, it is indeed inconvenient for you to receive guests in the Fu. So, isn't it bad for Rui Wangfei and Lu Wangfei? You should invite all the brothers in your Fu. Since you want to share, the more the better. Li Hongyuan raised his eyebrows. Wan is very right. Jingwan turned back and wrote an invitation. She ordered that there would be a banquet tomorrow. She believed that those who received the invitation would come. It was the first time. Unless they really couldn't stand up if they didn't give face, it would be hard to explain to the emperor. As expected, all the families replied to the invitation very quickly, saying that they would come early. Jingwan only needed to give orders for these things. She didn't need to do other things by herself. On this day, not long after lunch, other people came one after another. The first ones to come were Rui Wangfei and Lu Wangfei. Jingwan and Li Hongyuan greeted them separately. However, Jingwan saw a very unexpected person beside Lu Wangfei. What did he want to do with Luo Jingying? https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653388. HTML. Please click here to report. No registration required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com Mobile Edition Reading Website. Bicken. Chapter 247. They were from the same family, and Luo Jingying had an unusual relationship with her. There were only two reasons for her to bring Luo Jingying here. Either she wanted to establish a good relationship with her, or she wanted to humiliate Luo Jingying to put her in her place. The latter was not likely, unless Prince Rui was out of his mind. But establishing a good relationship. When they were in the summer palace, they should have torn each other's faces. How could they establish a good relationship? But since she had brought her here, she could not drive her out. Luo Jingying looked at Jingwan and Princess Lu, who were talking to each other with smiles. The last time they met, Luo Jingying had to bow to Princess Lu. Now they were on equal footing. Obviously, she had grown a lot taller. Maybe it was because of her marriage, but she seemed to be more radiant than before. Her skin was still so tender and flawless. She still wore no makeup, but even Princess Lu's exquisite makeup was completely overshadowed by her. Not to mention Luo Jingying. When they stood together, no one would treat her as a younger sister if they did not know the truth. Luo Jingying looked much older than Luo Jingying in terms of appearance, eyes and spirit. 10 years. Haha. Even if Luo Jingying married a terrible man, she could not say that she was not living a good life. But how could such a man be good? Princess Lu and Jingwan talked for a long time before she pulled Luo Jingying to her side. I brought concubine Jingying here today because she really missed her family. Because of her identity, it is not easy for her to see her. I can't take her to other places. But I thought that we are all family today, so I brought her here shamelessly. Don't worry, sister-in-law. Luo Jingying was quite cooperative. She looked at Jingwan with tears in her eyes. Her eyes were full of indescribable longing. Third sister. Luo Jingying really missed her. But there was also jealousy and hatred in her longing. In short, at this moment, she felt that her sworn enemy was very amiable. Maybe at this moment she really understood what it meant to break the bones but still connect the tendons. She originally thought that even if she died in the backyard of Prince Rui's mansion, she would never see her family again. She had begged Princess Lu to send letters to her mother many times, but in the end there was no reply. She knew that she had broken her mother's heart. She really didn't care about her anymore, and no one else in the Luo family would care about her. Jingwan saw that Luo Jingying was so miserable, but she didn't feel happy, but she didn't pity her either. After all, they didn't hate each other. Luo Jingying didn't end up like this because she had no choice, nor was she forced by others. It was her own choice. Originally, she could have a good marriage. Neither the Luo family nor she would ruin it. But she was greedy and inexperienced. She couldn't see the situation clearly, so she made a bad result. Jingwan drew a circle on her belly. In fact, her baby was at most 10 days younger than Sun Ijia's baby. But the baby was more than 50 days old, but she didn't hear any news about the birth of a baby in Prince Rui's mansion. Judging from her current appearance, she didn't seem to have given birth to the baby not long ago. In this case, the baby was not born but died long ago. When she was pregnant, she went to the Luo family excitedly to tell them the good news. But when she died, there was no news from the Luo family at all. Prince Rui really didn't care about the Luo family if there were no benefits. Live a good life after you marry into Prince Rui's mansion. After all, your surname is Luo. These words were for Luo Jingying and Princess Lu, third sister. Luo Jingying broke down and cried. Tears rolled down one after another. It's my mother's fault. She didn't say that you were better than me when you were born. She didn't want to be better than you, so I had to be better than you in everything. Why did I always go against you? Among all the sisters, I was the evil one. I was the only one who was excluded. I was the only one who was arrogant. I could have lived happily for the rest of my life, but this man is nothing. When you have value, he sweet-talks you, coaxes your heart, and cheats you of your body. When he knows that you have no value, he doesn't know what to do and allows you to be trampled on. Luo Jingying vented hysterically. Maybe she really resented her mother. She took most of the responsibility for raising Luo Jingying to this point. She fell into such a situation. She couldn't cry for help in Prince Rui's mansion. Her mother was so heartless that she refused to see her. No one knew the darkness and despair in her heart. No one helped her. Princess Lu's face was a little dark. She wanted to ask someone to block Luo Jingying's mouth. However, when she caught a glimpse of Jingwan's sullen face, she didn't know what to do. Because they were brothers, they didn't stick to the rules. Now Li Hongyuan came with Li Hongming. The two brothers heard a good show. Prince Rui's expression was wonderful. He was angry and wanted to teach Luo Jingying a lesson. However, he was stopped by Li Hongyuan with a faint smile. Prince Rui was filled with resentment, but this was not his territory. It would not look good if he really caused a ruckus. Moreover, he was not a match for this bastard. If they fought, it would be even more humiliating. Prince Rui looked at Luo Jingying coldly. She didn't know what was good for her. He would teach her a lesson when they went back. Jingwan sighed. After all, she was only a 15-year-old girl. In her previous life, she was still a junior high school student. However, she had experienced the abandonment of her family, the abandonment of her lover, and the painful loss of her child. As a woman, all the pain and suffering was nothing more than this. You. Third Jejia, I know that the one that the man really wants is you. It's a pity that he can't even touch within 3 zhang of you. He doesn't have the guts to touch the fiancé of the living king of hell. What dragon and phoenix bearing, heaven's favored son. He's just dog fart. What respect for the wise. He's just a hypocrite. On the outside, he pretends to be gentle and approachable. In reality, he's just a cold-blooded beast. He'll die a horrible death. Ingshirchia, what nonsense are you talking about? Shut up. Princess Lu's face was frighteningly gloomy. Luo Jingying turned back to look at her and smiled sinisterly. What kind of good thing do you think you are? You're just jackals of the same lair as him. A belly full of thieves and prostitutes. Isn't that what I'm talking about? Someone come, block her mouth for me. Luo Jingying quickly walked to Jingwan's side and grabbed Jingwan's arm. This is Jin Qin Wang Fu, the living king of Hell's palace. You're all afraid of him. My third Jejia is his wife. More than one of you told me that he's protecting his wife. Who dares to touch me? Be careful that I'll implicate third Jejia. Has the Gong Qin Wang and his father-in-law gotten closer again? This was a real threat. Slut, still not letting go of your Jejia. Prince Rui was furious. Luo Jingying looked over. Her face was covered in tears, and her smile was unusually strange. Jin Qinhuang's expression isn't good. Because you're peeping at his wife. He might want to dig out your eyes right now, chop you up and feed you to the dogs. Li Hongyuan was indeed overflowing with hostility right now. He looked at Luo Jingying like he was looking at a dead person. But he didn't come over, and Prince Rue, who was standing next to him, inexplicably didn't dare to move. Prince Rue was about to explode. From birth to now, even if he'd been punished by Li Hongyuan countless times, he'd never been pointed at and humiliated like this before. Moreover, it was his woman, a woman that he completely held in the palm of his hand. What's so special about her? She's just a coward, a coward. She seemed to think of something and started to giggle with a bit of madness. Isn't she just a coward? Enough, don't say any more. Jingwan frowned and interrupted her. Although Luo Jingying was holding on to her, Jingwan could feel that she was limp and didn't have any strength. She didn't have the slightest intention of hurting her, so when Luo Jingying got close, she stopped He Mei, who was about to make a move. There was something very wrong with Luo Jingying today. Her words were practically pushing her to her death. Jingwan's heart was beating wildly. She stared at Luo Jingying. You. Third sister, do I look ugly right now? She wiped her face with a handkerchief. Her makeup was smudged, and she looked like a ghost. Jingwan's lips moved. Luo Jingying smiled gently at Jingwan. Then, she suddenly let go and crashed into the rockery next to her. Even though Jingwan already thought that Luo Jingying might try to kill herself, she didn't expect it to be so quick and decisive. No one had the time to stop her. Fourth sister. Jingwan's pupils shrank, and she hurriedly ran over. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653392. HTML. Please click here to report an error. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com mobile edition. Chapter 248. Jingwan hurriedly helped Luo Jingying up from the ground and pressed a handkerchief against her bleeding forehead. Call the doctor, quickly. You silly girl, why can't we talk things out? Why do you want to die? Luo Jingying leaned into Jingwan's arms as if she couldn't feel the pain at all. Her eyes were lifeless as she said weakly, "But I can't live anymore. I have nothing left. You don't want me anymore. That place is not a place for humans. It's a den of demons. Even a maid who sweeps the floor can bully me. I miss you and miss you every day. But none of you come to see me." Her tears fell down. It's my fault. Live well. I'll visit you often in the future, okay? Seeing her like this, Jingwan's heart softened. She couldn't remain indifferent. It's okay even if you quarrel with me. You can't win an argument against me anyway. You're the one who gets angry every time. Luo Jingying forced a smile. Yes, I'm the one who finds fault with you every time. In the end, I'm the one who suffers. I've always thought that you're the worst person in the world, the most annoying person. In fact, you're not wrong. Yes. Whatever you say. When you get better, you can say whatever you want. Where's the doctor? Why isn't he here yet? Jingwan found that her hands were getting weaker and weaker. Her pupils were dilating and her limbs were twitching slightly. Her attention was also starting to wander. Fourth sister, look at me. Don't sleep. Before I die, I can die in peace if I can win you once. You won't die. You won't. Hang in there. Jingwan was anxious and helpless as she faced a life that was gradually fading away. Fourth sister. Third sister, are you going to cry? Luo Jingying seemed to have discovered something strange. You're really soft-hearted. If I were you and saw this situation, I would probably clap my hands in joy. It's worth it. I'm worth it too. Third sister, I'm so sleepy. Fourth sister, don't sleep. Don't sleep. Wangfei, why don't we carry concubine Ing into the room first? No, third sister, I feel terrible. If I move, I'll feel even worse. Talk to me, talk to me. All right, we'll do as you say. Tell me what you want to say. I hate it when people call me concubining, so annoying. Well, don't call me that. No one is allowed to call me that in the future. Whoever dares to call me that, I'll help you deal with him. Jingwan promised her. The others didn't think much of it, but Prince Rue and Princess Lu had already followed the people who served them. Their expressions were interesting. However, with Li Hongyuan, this living king of hell, keeping them in check, even Prince Rue didn't dare to say anything. Just because he was peeking at his wife, Prince Rue's anger hadn't subsided yet. If he really did something, it might add fuel to the fire. Prince Rue couldn't wait for Luo Jingying to die. Although what she said had no evidence, if it spread out, it would have a great impact on him. His other brothers would definitely use this to make a big fuss. He only hated himself for believing Luo Jingying's words. Why did he believe that she would try her best to restore her relationship with Luo Jingwan and pull the Luo family closer to her? In the end, this B*T dared to do such a thing. She really deserved to be torn into pieces. In Prince Rue's eyes, Luo Jingying was his woman. Her life and death, honor and disgrace were all up to him. She was completely under his control. Just like the other women in his harem, they could fight and fight internally, but they would naturally unite against outsiders. Therefore, when she said that she wanted to restore her relationship with the Luo family, he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. It was just a means to fight for favor, and it was also beneficial to him. Why not? When he came out, he was just a little gentler to her, and she looked like she was infatuated with him again. Therefore, he was so conceited that he thought that women were like this. But even so, he was always fighting the eagle, and the eagle pecked his eyes instead. These men never knew how crazy a woman could be when she took revenge. When she had nothing, she would hate you to death. How could she still protect your face? How arrogant and conceited a man must be to maintain this kind of naive thinking. Male power and imperial power were supreme. Did they think that women had no ability to resist at all? It was fine if she was a helpless woman, but wasn't Luo Jingying. Third sister, the child died on the day of your hairpin ceremony. They sent people to boast about how grand your hairpin ceremony was. They knew that I hated you the most, so they deliberately provoked me. My child had already grown up. In the end, the one that belonged to me was gone just like that. But it's good that he's gone. If he was born, I might not be able to protect him. But even a vicious tiger doesn't eat its cubs. He doesn't have a son yet, so how could he do such a thing? Tell me, is he an idiot or something? Bitch. Li Hongming couldn't bear it anymore. He wanted to rush up and strangle Luo Jingying directly. Li Hongyuan stretched out his leg to stop him. Then he swept his hand across and grabbed his neck. Then he turned around and went behind him. He pinned his one arm behind his back and kicked his knee. Li Hongming knelt on one knee, and his head almost hit the ground. Princess Lu was so shocked that she jumped up. But she could only watch helplessly and didn't dare to step forward. At this moment, several other people were led in by Eunuch Mu. When they saw this scene, they were very surprised. As for those who had a grudge against Li Hongming, they were particularly delighted in his misfortune. No matter how they fought with each other in other aspects, it didn't matter. But when they rolled up their sleeves, it was basically the case before the age of 16. After the age of 16, they had suffered a few losses in the hands of Li Hongyuan, but they were only kicked once or twice. They had never been forced to kneel on the ground like this. This was not just a matter of losing face. It was a great shame. Li Hongyuan, Prince Rue couldn't restrain his anger. Luo Jingying's head hurt, and she was dizzy. She began to lose consciousness. However, she seemed to feel Li Hongming's anger. She giggled. What a coward. Sure enough, I'm too stupid. How could I be bewitched by this man's appearance? Sure enough, I shouldn't be too greedy. It's even more stupid to climb up the social ladder. Jingwon only felt that every minute and every second was unbearable. Why hadn't the doctor arrived yet? Third sister, I beg you. I beg you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I want to go home. I want to go back to the Luo family. I don't want to have anything to do with that man. Otherwise, I won't die in peace. I won't die in peace. Okay. We'll ask him to write a letter of release. Then I'll send you home. I'll send you back to the Luo family. Thank you, third sister. Thank you. Thank you. Before I die, I can still see my family. I'm very happy. Really very happy. Fourth sister, don't die. Wait until you return to the Luo family. I'll help you with your coming-of-age ceremony. I'll find a good family for you. You'll still have your own children. Believe me, believe me. Fourth sister. Luo Jingying's lips squirmed. She opened her mouth, but it seemed that she couldn't speak. Her eyes slowly closed, but tears still rolled down from the corners of her eyes. Wang Fei, the Fu doctor is here. The Fu doctor is here. That Fu doctor looked younger than the one from the Luo family, but he was also in his early 50s. Speaking of which, Jin Qin Wang Fu's territory was large. However, more than 90% of it was occupied by Li Hongyuan, this tyrant dragon. The others lived in relatively remote areas. They couldn't destroy the layout of the Wang Fu because of where these people lived. Therefore, even if the Fu doctor received the news and came over, he still didn't care about his image and wasted a lot of time. When the Fu doctor took her pulse, his heart thumped. Quick, send her back to the room. Lao Fu will perform acupuncture for her. This time, the servant maids didn't delay any longer. They hurried forward and sent Luo Jingying back to the room. It was unknown if it was because her legs were numb, but Jingwon, who was originally half squatting, sat on the ground instead. She seemed to have lost her soul. Li Hongyuan pushed Li Hongming away. Get out of the way. He shouted at the servant maids who wanted to help Jingwon up and reached out to wrap her up. Jingwon reached out and hugged Li Hongyuan's neck. She buried her head in the side of his neck and said in a muffled voice, I don't like her. Sometimes I can't wait for someone to tidy her up. But I didn't want her to die. She was loathsome before, but she didn't really do anything that offended heaven and reason. I really didn't want her to die. Really. Li Hongyuan didn't know what to say at this time. Back then, he was also involved in sending Luo Jingying to Prince Rui's estate. Even now, if Luo Jingying died, then so be it. He didn't want to see Jingwon sad. Yuan, put me down. Li Hongyuan did as she said. Jingwon steadied herself and looked at Prince Rui. Prince Rui, let concubine write. Today's matter is over. I don't want to write. https://www.bicken.com/11/11807/6653394. HTML. Please click here to report an error. Registration is not required. We will deal with it as soon as possible. After reporting, please wait patiently and refresh the page. Please remember the domain name of this book. www.bicken.com. Bikugo mobile reading website. Bicken.com. You're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.